Welcome to the full course on how to build and sell AI agents to businesses. By the end, you'll know exactly what AI agents are and how they work. You will have watched me build 5 different agents on 4 different platforms. You will know how to find a business that pays you for them, how to run the call that closes them, and how to price and package it in a way where the business will say yes. And I'm not gonna sell you a dream. I'm not gonna tell you that you can make 10K in 7 days because I personally cannot promise you that. And the people who do are setting you up to fail. What I can tell you is my own experience going from studying to become an investment banker, setting myself up for a 9-to-5 career that honestly I didn't want, to actually going all in into AI in 2024 and scaling my own AI agency to 6 figures in 14 months, having worked with over 50 businesses from small shops to enterprise clients and teaching thousands on how they can do the exact same thing. So everything in here is what actually works with real clients and real money, not just what I think sounds good. And one honest warning before we start, this is for people who are genuinely committed and serious about building a real skill and building a real business. Not for people who are either wanting the button that prints money or wanting to just learn AI for fun. Because if that's you, there are tons of videos that are much better for that. But if you're serious about making real money with AI, then you are in the right place. Now, I've also left chapter markers in the description below in case you want to continue where you left off and come back to the video. Otherwise, start here because each part builds on the next. With that being said, guys, let's dive in. All right, so AI agents from the ground up, what they really are, how they think, how they take action in the real world, how we can use them to make money, but most importantly, why should we even learn these things? So in terms of the opportunity itself, the market of AI agents, it's growing around 45% every single year, right? Meaning that you guys, especially at the time of this recording, you are extremely early. There's gonna be a window of 3 to 5 years where businesses are gonna have to adapt to these AI agents or they will get left behind. I know it's something that people say, but it's the truth because every single business will need to be AI first, AI native, because of these technologies that are coming out, which are way better than having any employees because they work faster, they don't take holidays, they don't complain, and they work 24/7. Now, as of 2025, the market size of AI agents was 7.8 billion. As of 2030, projecting, it's 50 billion. My assumption is that this is probably going to double or even triple as well because projections they're pretty inaccurate at the time of the actual projection, especially with AI. But to the point here, it's growing 45% year on year. Right? Hence why you see most of it in North America, so the US and Canada, you have Asia, you have Europe, and the rest of the world as well. All right, so now the question becomes, what actually is an AI agent? Like, what does it mean? The word is everywhere, but maybe you might not really know the definition of tactically what it means. So an AI agent is a software that can think for itself, it makes decisions, and takes action to reach a specific outcome, right? Without you being there every step of the way. Really, really important. Without you being there every step of the way. So it can reason about the situation, which is the thinking part. It can decide as to what to do next, like a normal person. And it can act, which means doing things in the real world. And so the reason why these AI agents are taking over the world, in my opinion, is because they are a form of a human employee. In this case, AI employees. The only difference is that they do it 10 times faster, 24/7, without taking any breaks. Now, of course, there's the argument that these are not going to replace every single human in the world because you still need the creativity sometimes, you still need the human thought, but for the most part, for most of the work that's in the economy, this can be automated using AI agents. Now, with this said, there's a full transition that happened over time because we didn't always start with AI agents. This is something that recently came in 2025, 2026 and beyond, right? And so what actually happened? Like, how did we go from where we were to where we are? So up until 2010, we had the era of the manual code. So this is software engineers coding every step of the way by hand, right? Line by line. And that's where there was no automation tools, there was no AI agents, there was no AI, but it was just manual coding. No, up until 2024, which is workflow automation tools. And by the way, we still use workflow automation tools. We will use them today when we build things. And these are tools like Zapier, Make.com, N8N, which essentially take softwares and wire them together. Put them together. The only difference from manual code to workflow automation is that you don't need any code experience, meaning that it's no code platforms. So without coding, you're now able to do things that you could have done here in the manual code, but do it in a software that's really easy to look at. You just have to drag and drop modules and it does everything there, right? This diagram shows pretty much what it looks like. It's just one box connected to another box, connected to another box, and so on, right? And so you start piecing things together. But again, you still have to create the automation manually. It's not really automated. You can't just say, hey, I want this, and it does everything for you. Then we go to this new era, the agentic era, the AI agents era. And this is where softwares can think and act for itself. So this is where you guys are here right now, which is by far, again, one of the biggest opportunities in the software industry that's happened in a very, very long time. And the reason that is because now we don't have to code manually. We don't even have to drag and drop different automations, but we can just say, hey, I want X, Y, and Z done. And it has everything that it needs, and it just builds it for you. And so this is the ultimate level of like a person who has no clue how to code, no clue how to build automations, but knows plain English and knows what they want, and just saying, hey, I want X, Y, and Z, and it's done. Right? Of course, there's a lot of things that go behind it, which we'll talk about today. But like the main premise of this is that now we've come to a point where like the real skill that someone needs to acquire going into AI is most times the prompting side, which is how to talk to AI agents to get the thing that you want, to get the outcome that you want for a business, right? Not so much the ability to understand everything, although understanding the foundations is extremely important as well. Now, with this said, there are 5 different parts of an AI agent, right? And these 5 parts are basically what constitute any AI agent that you think of and see online. Every single AI agent, right? We have different tools, different softwares that we use to build AI agents, but fundamentally, like the foundations, they're all the same. The first part of an AI agent, which is one of the most important, is the brain, which is the LLM. So this is the reasoning engine. It's like the chip inside your brain, right? The better the chip, the better it can do the actual thing, right? Assuming that the prompt is the same, the tools are the same, the instructions, all that stuff is the same. The brain is the way, or the actual thing, in this case, the LLM, that it uses to be able to think. And this is where we can get into the discussion of whether ChatGPT is better than Claude, whether Claude is better than Gemini, whether Gemini is better than Grok, right? There's all these different LLMs. The good thing about this is that, as you guys might see in the industry right now and over time, is that there are new models coming out fucking every single week. But it is better for us because when we're building AI agents, the better the model, usually, the better the outcome that we get because it can think better, right? The reasoning engine is like, it's a difference between a Toyota, which is a Toyota engine, which was ChatGPT 2 years ago, and a Ferrari engine, which is Claude model today. It only keeps getting better. And so with this said, with new models coming out, it's new reasoning engines. And so we're able to access LLMs that are much better over time, that are able to take on more information, able to do more complex things at a faster, speed, and also more consistently, that will enable the AI agent to give us a much better output. Now, the second part of an AI agent is the instructions. So this is the job description, the prompt telling it how to behave. Because of the fact that now we don't really have to know exactly how to build automations like step by step by plugging them in, the main skill, the main premise of this is that we have to know how to speak to AI agents. The same way that if you hire a human being, you have to know how to instruct a human being. If you just speak in Morse code to a human being, and he won't really understand, so he doesn't really give you the output that you wanted to. And so usually the input dictates the output, meaning that if you put shit in, if your prompt is shit, if your input is shit, then you will get shit out, meaning that your output will be shit. It doesn't really like align with what you want. And so a lot of the times where a lot of people say, hey, the AI agent doesn't work, or it's not giving me the output that I wanted to, it usually comes down to your instructions. Because how many times have you been instructed to do something and you did it wrong, but it wasn't because of you, it's because your instructions were wrong. And so you did what you were told to do. And so we're going to dive this in a bit deeper as well when we look at prompting. But there are different prompting techniques that we do use when we give AI a specific task. It's not just as easy as saying, I want X, Y, and Z. There's more things that come into the prompt, instructions, markdown formatting, the format of the prompt, the actual rules, the actual structure. And so we'll look at that as well. But the instructions here will be the input that we give to the AI agent for it to give us the output. Now, the third part of an AI agent is what we call memory. Now, this is the fact that AI agents can remember the conversation and what happened before. The way that I personally think about memory when it comes to AI is that it has short-term memory and it has long-term memory. Short-term memory is the memory that it has from the conversation that you're having it right now. For example, if me and you are having a conversation right now, you will remember the conversation as we're having it, but when you have a new conversation, you will forget that we ever had the conversation. On the other hand, we have long-term memory. So this is maybe details and information about a specific thing that you store in the back of your head that you can always come back to and retrieve whenever you need it. In this case, AI agents can store long-term memory using like a Google Sheet or Airtable or whatever, some sort of software that stores information that the AI agent can always pull information from. And it has short-term memory, which is a memory of the conversation that it's having right now. That is the simplest way of me explaining memory when it comes to like these AI agents specifically. The fourth part of an AI agent is what we call the knowledge base. So the knowledge base is the long-term memory, meaning that it's documents and data that the AI agents can always retrieve information from to answer your question. Now, the most simple example to put this is a customer support agent. So I'm sure you guys have spoken to like a customer support agent before. You've asked it, hey, what's the return policy on my order? And then it gives you the answer, right? The answer comes from a document that it's, trained on, that is able to use to answer your question. And so this can be document, this can be Google Sheets, this can be, I don't know, images, videos, whatever it is. But it's some sort of like piece of data that it can always look at, reference whenever it has to answer your question. Then obviously the documents can be stored in a very specific way. We have vector databases, we have RAG databases. It's a whole thing there, right? But the main thing to understand is that these documents are something that the AI agent uses to then answer your question. And by the way, we're going to use these when we're going to build. So you'll see them in action. And the last part of an AI agent, and arguably the most important one, in my opinion, is what we call tools. I put a star here because of the importance of the actual part of the AI agent. Now, the brain is important. The instructions extremely important because it's instructions. The memory is key, knowledge base as well. But the tools is how it actually does everything that you want it to. It's how it updates the CRM. It's how it sends the email. It's how it books the appointment. It's how it does pretty much everything. And then everything around this is, basically setting up the foundations so that it's able to use these effectively. It's able to use the tools without messing up, right? But the tools that it has are the ones that are able to then do all the actions that you want it to. When you hear of voice agents, when you hear of lead generation agents or customer support agents, these agents have access to these tools that are able to then access the internet or different softwares to take actions for you so you don't have to. And so with this said, let's say that a customer asks the AI agent, where is my order? That's the first message. So where's my order? The first thing that the AI agent does is that it uses the brain to understand what the person is talking about and understands that they're asking about an order status. So this is where the LLM comes in, the first part of the AI. Then it uses the instructions because we instruct the agent to always check the order before replying. And so it's going to use that instruction to then go to the memory, which recalls the order number that they gave earlier in the conversation. Then it can use, for example, the knowledge base, maybe a document, which checks the shipping policy for delivery times. And finally, it uses the tools to call the store API, which means, the actual store software that you use. It gets the status of the order, which is this, and it replies to the agent itself. And so this step-by-step instructions that you see here of how the AI agent works is what we call logs. So logs are essentially like whenever I give the AI agent a message, like, hey, schedule a calendar event, we can see exactly what steps it takes towards getting us to the outcome. And so it thinks, it looks at the instructions, it recalls the memory, it uses the knowledge base, and then finally it uses the tools to then be able to do the actual thing itself. And so these four things are setting us up to make sure that when it does use the tools, it doesn't mess up. But the tools itself are the thing that we use to actually get the information that we want. Now, with this said, how is a chatbot any different from an AI agent? Because I'm sure you guys have used the chatbots online or maybe even phone bots. They say, hey, press 1 for this, press 2 for this, press 3 for this. The difference is that whilst a chatbot only can talk back to you, it can only answer questions, it waits for your next message, and it can't do anything in the real world. An AI agent can think and then act. It uses tools to get things done. It can make its own decisions and it completes the whole job for you. So whilst the chatbot tells you what to do, an AI agent does it. Hence why it's a chatbot. You can just chat to it. An AI agent, it's an agent that does things for you, that's powered by AI. Now, the main difference between a workflow and an AI agent is that a workflow specifically, all it is, it's just a fixed series of steps that runs the same every single time. So you might have heard the term deterministic versus non-deterministic. What deterministic means is that you can determine, you can predict what's going to happen. And with a workflow, let's say we have a workflow that starts with new call booked, then it goes to add the lead to the CRM, then it goes to send a text to our team, and then maybe sends a thank you email, right? This right here wouldn't change. As in every single time that you run it, it will always run from this to this, right? And so this is the workflow aspect of it, meaning that it's rule-based and it's fully predictable. It's deterministic. It doesn't change. It doesn't go above the Slack message or above the email or above Pipedrive, right? Which is the CRM. It always happens step by step based on the workflow and the rules that you put into the actual system. An AI agent, on the other hand, is not locked into fixed steps. It's not step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, because we can have the same starting point, which can lead to a different action because the agent decides what to do. So let's say we talk to an AI agent on Telegram, which is a messaging platform, and we say, hey, make an email or send an email or maybe even schedule a calendar event, right? Now, the AI agent, which in this case, powered by Claude, will think through what the instructions are, because it has instructions, and then it will either make a calendar event or it will send an email based on the tools that it has access to. And so we can have different kinds of inputs leading to different kinds of outputs, or the same input which can lead to different kinds of outputs. Because the AI agent is the one responsible for thinking through exactly what to do at any given point in the system itself. Hence why I say that like, it's very good that it does that because it can think on its own, but it's also not that good if your instructions are not that good. If you say, hey, just think about it and do whatever, the output wouldn't really be consistent. But if you give it fixed steps, like step 1, step 2, step 3, it can use those as guardrails and then make its own decisions based on what it is that you want. Now, with the fact that these tools right here, calendar and email and CRMs and all that stuff, is really the thing that actually makes the AI agent so powerful because they're able to access all these softwares at once. The question becomes, how is an AI agent able to access our softwares for us? How is it able to tap into a CRM? How is it able to send an email, schedule a calendar event if we are not doing it ourselves? Right? How is it taking action for us? It's one answer, and the answer is API. So API stands for Application Programming Interface. It's essentially the process of a software speaking to a software. An AI agent speaking to the CRM, an AI agent sending an email, an AI agent updating some sort of like Slack message or Google Sheet, right? Now think of this as a waiter. The waiter has the chef and it has the customers. Between the chef and the customers, there's a series of steps that it has to do. There's taking the order, there's bringing the order from the kitchen, delivering the order, making the order, taking the order, bringing the order, delivering the order, make the order, take the order. So it goes on and on and on. It's a whole repetitive loop that it goes through, which is exactly what APIs are about. So instead of the customers, think of the customer as the end user, which in this case you, on the other side of the screen, talking to an AI agent, right? And you give a request, meaning that, hey, I want X, Y, and Z done. And so the AI agent will then use an API to then call Google Sheets, which is in this case, the chef, or call Gmail, right? And so the API is the waiter that's in between you wanting something and something getting done. And between you and the software, it's a series of request and response, request and response. I want this done. The response is, it's done. I want to update a CRM with a new contact. The response is, the CRM has been updated, right? And so really the main thing to understand is that API is how everything gets done. Now you might be asking yourself, why is it that I have to learn about APIs when the softwares take care of that themselves and I don't have to worry about it? Well, the reason that is because when something goes wrong with Claude Code or with N10 or whatever it is, then you're in a much better position to fix and understand what went wrong if you understand the foundations of how everything works in the first place, because then you understand what went wrong and how to fix it itself. Instead, if you're someone who doesn't really understand the foundations at all, then it will be much harder for you because you have no context as to how things work. All right, so APIs, again, are the reason to why softwares are able to speak to softwares without you having to do it yourself. But what can they actually do? Well, there's 4 things that they can do. 2 are the ones that you're most likely going to use 90% of the time. And these 2 are what we call post and get. So post and get are different types of requests, which are the 2 that you'll most likely use. So the first one is post. Post is any type of record that you have to create. Is you sending information from where you are to something. Let's say you want to send an email. That's a post request. So you'd be sending a post request to the server saying, hey guys, I want to send an email. Post. Let's say you want to add a contact to a CRM. Post request, hey server, I'm sending a post request to add a contact to my CRM. Sending information from where you are to something else, right? Outbound message. Or maybe even sending a message on LinkedIn. So whenever you send a message on LinkedIn, in the backend, you're actually sending a post request to LinkedIn saying, hey, I want to send a message to someone, and that will be a post request. Now, on the other hand, a get request is a complete opposite. So while post is sending, get is getting. Right? You're getting information from any record from the software. So let's say you are using Gmail and you want to retrieve the past 5 emails of today. So you'd be saying, hey server, hey Gmail server, hello, how are you? I want to get something. I want to get the past 5 emails of today using a get request. And so it will give you the actual thing itself. Or I don't know, like your CRM. You want to pull the last 10 contacts who opted in to your Facebook ads. Hey server, I'm sending a get request to get my last 10 contacts who have opted into my Facebook ads. That's a get request. And so post and get are the main ones that we're going to use. Now, this is important because I'm going to be talking about this when we actually go to the builds, and I'll talk about post and get when we have to schedule calendar events, when we have to get emails. It's going to be awesome. So keep this in mind when we go to the next steps. Now, the last 2 are going to be put, patch, and delete. Put and patch is when you update a record. So let's say John's name is not John anymore, it's James. Then you have to update the record using a put or patch request, saying, hey server, I'm giving you a put or patch request to update a name. Can you action it? Can you do it? And it will do it. And then we have delete. Pretty straightforward if you want to delete any record from a software. So let's say you have a Google Sheet record or some sort of item and you want to delete it. You say, hey server, I'm sending you a delete request to delete the line item in the Google Sheet, and it doesn't. So these are the 4, but these 2 are the main ones that we're going to use. Again, we do use put, patch, and delete sometimes, depending on how complex you go or what sort of functionalities you want to do, but mainly you're going to be getting information and sending information. Now, there's a fundamental concept, which is the fact that like an AI agent is only able to access a software if they have an API, meaning that if the software is available to say, hey, you can send information, you can retrieve information, you can do whatever you want with my software, then it's possible. But there are times where like the software itself is maybe old or maybe outdated, where it doesn't have an API. And so how do we find that out? And so that's where we go into API documentation. So what this means is like a documentation, like basically a Google Doc, telling us exactly what we can automate and cannot automate in a specific software. So let's say we take Google Sheets. Let's say we can only create a new row, but we cannot retrieve a row. That's where we go to the API documentation, and we'll find that, and then we'll see, okay, what things can we do? What things can't we do? And it will tell us. Now, how do you find the API documentation? Well, you can just search up the software name. So HubSpot API documentation, click up API documentation, Google Sheets API documentation, right? Once you open the doc, you will see the endpoints and the exact request that the tool accepts. Not every tool accepts every request. So your ability as well is to kind of find out what that is and so on. Again, you can use AI for this. Like you can use AI. Claude is very good. If you just feed it the link of the API documentation, it can just look it for you. But if you understand how it goes and how it works, much better. So how does an API documentation actually look like, right? I'm going to use 3 examples: Instantly, which is a cold email platform; Apollo, which is a lead enrichment platform; and ClickUp, which is some sort of like project management, CRM kind of platform, right? So the first one here is Instantly. I'm actually going to go to Instantly's documentation and show you right there. So I just searched up Instantly API documentation and I go here. All right, so here is the API documentation. On the left-hand side is where you can see all the different actions that you can do with the API of Instantly. What can you automate? So there are 3 different components of an API documentation. There's the actions, there's a description, and there's the request. So the actions is essentially all the actions that you can do with the API of Instantly. What are some things you can automate and cannot automate inside of Instantly? Well, I mean, it doesn't really tell you what you cannot automate, but if you can't see it here, then you cannot automate. You can also use Instantly's feature, in case you want to ask it any questions. So for example, let's say we want to ask it, hey, I want to send a test email. How do I do it? So using the AI assistant, now it will look through all the API references, it will look through everything, and then it will give me, well, it should give me this right here, a description of how I should go around, actually automating the process of sending a test email. So using a post API v2 emails.test, which is the one here with the fields that we have here and so on. We have the request here, all of these, and then we have the description in the middle, which is the description of what it is that you're doing. So send a preview test email without creating an email entity in Unibox, rate limit 10 requests per minute per workspace, right? And so this tells us what it is that we're automating. And here it gives us a ton of information as to like what the request needs to include. So it needs to have authorizations, it needs to have like different variables that we send it to, and that's the description. That's the part in the middle. On the right-hand side, we have the request. So this is where we get in the depth of like a curl. So a curl is basically a piece of code, which by the way, you don't really have to understand fully, but it's essentially how the AI is able to understand what thing we want to automate in the software itself. So when we go into like actually building this inside of N8N and retail and Claude Code, we'll be able to just copy this and paste it into the software itself, and it will set everything up for us, right? So if you're wondering, hey, I'm using Instantly, how do I delete emails? You go here, go down, delete emails, and then you'll find that this is the endpoint, which is kind of the URL that we call, saying, hey, server, I want to do this. And then you see all the parameters, and then you basically see how you set things up, right? And I want to go back to here, send a test email, because we can see in the curl request that we have post, because sending a test email sends, you're sending something over. But if you go to get email, you can see that this is get. And you can also see this right here. Post, 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 get, delete, patch, get, post. So that's the difference between post, get, and patch, right? You're basically doing different actions. So sending a test email would mean that we have to send a post request to a server saying, hey, I want to send a test email. But if you want to use a get email, then we send a get request. If you want to patch email, so update an email, then you will use a patch request. And so that is how it applies to each software specifically. So with that said, that is the API documentation of Instantly. On the left-hand side, we have the actions. In the middle, we have the description. And on the right-hand side, we have the request. If I go to the Apollo API documentation, you can see that it's pretty much the same. On the left-hand side, we have, enriching people, organization enrichment, create an account, update an account, search for accounts, which are actions. In the middle, it's the description of the action. And on the right-hand side, It's the request, which is the curl. So post request with this URL, you need to have this header, this header, this header, and these are the things that we can do. And finally, if we look at ClickUp API documentation, again, it's pretty much the same. So we have the actions on the left-hand side, so things that we can do. So you can press on each one. In the middle, you get the description as to what the endpoint is, but also what is it that we're doing, and also what things do we need to have in place to then send the request right here. Now, I did mention earlier how AI can also help you to be able to use the API documentations and see whether you can automate something or not automate something. So let me show you. So right here, I'm in ChatGPT and I can say, hey, I'm using it instantly in my automation instead of NA10, and I need to create an API request. Now, the action that I want to do is that I want to send a test email. Can you look at the API documentation of Instantly and tell me whether it's possible? If it is, tell me how to set things up step by step. So I'm gonna go and press go. And now what it should do is it should look at the internet, look for the API documentation of Instantly, and then it should give us, if it's good enough, a response with how to set things up. All right, there you go. So it gave us the actual response itself. And now we can fact check. So we can see that it says method post is fine. So that's post, all good. The URL is HTTPS API Instantly API v2 emails test. API v2 emails test. That's great. The reason why this first part isn't there is because we're looking at the official Instantly documentation. So the first URL is not there. Authorization, this and this match. And by the way, if this is a bit confusing, I'll explain exactly what each one means later. And then we have the JSON. So account to address subject body HTML, account to address subject body HTML, right? And then you can also ask it questions like, hey, I don't know what any of this means. Can you explain to me what it is? Right? So now you got to see how we can also use AI to then go inside the API documentation and see whether it's possible for us to do a specific action and how to set it up within our automations. So those are 3 examples of API documentations. So you get an idea of how it looks like. And you can see that it's a very common pattern around each one. 3 different things, right? Actions, description, and request. And so if you understand that pattern, it's going to be much easier. And the way to get better at this is to just practice. And when I say practice, I mean, just watch this video when I build things, and you will see that I have to go to the API documentation of a software to get the request and set things up. And by the way, it's super easy, like much easier than you think. All right, so with that said, here's exactly what to remember from the foundations of AI agents. An AI agent can think, decide, and act. A chatbot just talks to you. An AI agent is consisted of 5 parts. We have the brain, which is the LLM, how it thinks. Instructions, so your prompt, your instructions as to what you want it to do step by step. The memory, which is how it remembers the conversations. The knowledge, which is documents and data that you give it for it to always retrieve, to answer questions. And then we have the tools, which are the softwares that it uses to take the action. Workflows are fixed and predictable. AI agents adapt. So workflows are a series of steps that happen every single time, hence why we call them deterministic. And AI agents are non-deterministic because one input can lead in different kinds of outputs because the AI agent can think. And then APIs are how agents act. And we have post, we have get, put, patch, and delete. All right, so congrats on finishing module 1, which is the foundations of AI agents. You now understand exactly what an AI agent actually is and how it works, the different components of an AI agent, and then finally, how AI agents are able to speak to softwares through what we call APIs. And I can tell you that you are now ahead of most people inside the AI agent space because you understand the foundations of how everything works. Now, there's one quick thing before we keep going, which is the fact that everything that I'm going to talk about in this video and the things that we're going to build is exactly what my clients and me do every single day. So if you want my personal one-to-one help to be able to take these skills that we're going to talk about and actually turn them into a real business one-to-one with me, then I left a first link down below in the description, which walks through a full video on how you can do that step by step. There's also a free school community where a lot of this is already laid out in case you would rather start there. With that being said, let's go to the module 2, which is the building. So in this chapter right here, we're going to be building 5 different use cases using 4 different agentic platforms. And I'm going to cover pretty much the main sort of use cases that you can actually start selling to businesses. So the first use case is going to be a website lead generation agent. So this right here is going to be primarily built with voice flow. And I'm going to show you how you can turn traffic from websites into actual leads that the business can close. The second use case is going to be an inbound receptionist agent built primarily on retail AI, showing you how you can pair up voice with booking appointment systems to create an agent that can answer the phone 24/7. The third use case is going to be a speed to lead agent. And in this use case, we're going to build an agent that can follow up with ad leads within 5 minutes of them opting in to increase conversions for the business and make them more money. The fourth use case is going to be an AI executive assistant agent, showing you how you can build an agent that is able to automate different parts of the admin plus operations for a specific business. And the fifth use case is going to be a Sales Lead Research Copilot. And we're going to be primarily building this with Claude Code, showing you more advanced custom agent building. And this is for sales teams to be able to have as much information about a prospect before they jump on the call and sell the prospect. Now, as you're watching this video, it's also important to understand that you pretty much learn the best when you're also doing it with me. So the first time you can watch me do it, but the second time when you rewatch it, I recommend that you do everything step by step alongside me, because you learn by doing, you make your own mistakes, and you learn along the way. With that being said, let's go to the first build, which is the website lead generation agent. All right, so this agent right here will be living on the website, and it will answer any questions and capture leads, which is extremely important for businesses that have a ton of visitors in the website but have no way of converting them. The first thing is the visitor. So the visitor lands on your website. Let's say that's you. You go on the website, you're interested, you will open up a chat widget, which is on the bottom right. Then you will start asking questions to the actual agent, which will be hosted on VoiceFlow. That's the platform that we use. And then VoiceFlow will have access, or the agent in this case, will have access to a knowledge base. It will have access to tools, which we will build together to be able to answer any questions and take action. And finally, once it qualifies the actual person itself and sees that, hey, they're a good fit to work with us, then it will capture the details, the name, the email, and the need itself, so that our team can then contact them later down the line, right? And so how is this better than the current process that a business has? Well, a lot of businesses like ski resorts, hotels, which has a lot of visitors that go on the website, these people usually either have a very, very old chatbot or don't have one at all. And so they have no way of qualifying the person. They have no way of answering any questions, and they have no way of capturing the leads, which is a lot of missed opportunities for each kind of business. And each opportunity is an amount that they could have made off the business, right? All right, so the first step is signing up to VoiceFlow. So here we have voiceflow.com. You want to go to the sign up page. You want to fill out the details with your email or Google. I sign up with Google. So once you have signed up to VoiceFlow, you actually do get some credits that they give you. I personally upgraded to the $60 a month plan because I'm able to have different flexibilities. And there are some features that we only can use if you have the paid plan. So I recommend you get that if you're actually going to be using this for your business or to implement in someone else's business. Bear in mind that when we work with clients, like they're the ones who will get the VoiceFlow access, and they will add you under the members, right? So that you can access their account from your email. Very important. So we have home, where you can use AI to help you build anything. Then you have projects. So this right here will be where you can see all the different agents that you're building. In this case, we have none. So we're going to build one in just a bit. We have usage. So this is looking at how many credits you're currently using. So I used 1%. Plans and billing. This is your plans and billing. You can upgrade it, downgrade. It kind of depends on how many businesses you're implementing this for, or the complexity of the system, or how many users are using this chatbot or this chat agent, not chatbot. And then we have members. Again, this is where the business itself will give us access, because ideally we never want to use their account specifically. If there's a way of us getting access through our email, then that's awesome, which is what they do. And then phone numbers, because recently VoiceFlow implemented the ability to create voice agents as well, right? For voice agents, I don't really use VoiceFlow. I like to keep it on chat for now. We use Retail AI to build voice agents, but that's something we can do here as well. And then we have a bunch of resources here, like the documentation, the API reference, tutorials, support and sales, all that stuff, which you can do as well. But these are the main ones. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go to projects and you want to press new project. So it will ask you for the name. In this case, we can do ski resort agent, and it will ask you whether you want to do a web chat or a phone call. So this is the difference between a chat agent and a voice agent. In this case, I want to stick to web chat, which is the agent itself, like a chat agent that we're going to use and implement on the web. And in here, we can see that it's asking us for the framework. So we have the ability to do agentic or conversational flow. Now, bear in mind, I started working with VoiceFlow back in mid 2024. Didn't have agentic, hence why it's relatively new, right? They only had conversational flow. So the difference between one and the other, and the reason why we're going to use agentic, is because conversational flow, it's sort of like workflow automation platforms. Like you have to manually build each step, like step by step, right? Whilst agentic, you give it a prompt with instructions and it will kind of make its own flow based on your instructions, which is better. So we put agentic, and it's also more kind of free spirit per se. Objective, yeah, leave this as is. Just start from scratch, and we can start with the agent itself. All right, so we are on this page right here. Now, if you're new to VoiceFlow, this might seem a little bit intimidating, but it's actually very, very easy once you break it down with a few things, because it's not much stuff that you have here. The first thing is the AI that it's going to use. So if you remember before, when I mentioned the foundations of AI agents, I mentioned that the first thing is the LLM. It's the brain. So the brain is this right here. Now, as you can see when I zoom in, there you go. On the right-hand side, it tells me, hey, look at the speed, look at the cost, and look at the intelligence. And so ideally, we want something that's like pretty green on all three. I found that GPT 5.5 is one of the best when it comes to this, because the cost is fine, the intelligence is pretty good, and the speed is pretty good. So you want something in between. Now, bear in mind that as of the time of this recording, 5.5 is your best bet. But with everything in the AI space, the more time we go on, the more models come out, and you'll have different options here that you can see. So now that we chose our model, which are going to be 0.034 per message, like the pricing model of kind of how it works, and the speed. So now we have to create the global prompt and the instructions. So in this case, the global prompt is the one that's applied to every turn to shape how the agent responds, independent of the routing or tools. So this is the kind of the main thing. It's like, hey, you are this agent, your goal is to do X, Y, and Z. This is giving it the identity. It's sort of like the system prompt. And then we have to do the instructions, which defines how the agent routes requests, how it decides which tools to use, how it basically handles what it needs to do. So when this happens, do this. When that happens, do this, right? And so it's a mixture of different things. And once we have this too, we can go to creating the playbooks, which are sort of like the sub-agents. I'll explain what that means, don't worry. So I'm gonna go here to my AI Agent Masterclass resources, which by the way contains all the prompts for all the builds we're gonna do today. And you can find the resources in the third link down below in my free school community. You can go to the resource section, you can go to the templates vault, and you'll find everything there. So the first thing of the agent is the LLM, which is the brain. Now we get to the instructions, which is your step-by-step kind of plan, right? So here's a few things about the prompt you can see off the bat. So the first things first is that we give it the identity. So we're saying you are X, Y, and Z person, because the way that AI works is that if you tell it who it is, then it will basically like trick itself into thinking that it actually is that thing. It will embody the identity, and it will give you a much better answer if you're asking a question specifically towards that kind of identity, you know? So if you say you are a virtual assistant and you ask it questions around, you know, virtual assistant, then it will give you a much better answer, right? The second thing that we give it in this case is gonna be the tone of voice. So warm, approachable, enthusiastic, natural conversation language, that's fine. We give it response rules. So keep responses concise, one topic at a time. Use natural acknowledgements, great questions, absolutely. So this is basically the different rules throughout the conversation. And the last thing here is guardrails. Now, guardrails is essentially different rules as well, but there are things that we give AI for it not to go off track. So we say never discuss competitors' ski schools, never provide medical or safety advice, never confirm bookings, never share instructor personal data, do not discuss internal business operations. If a guest is frustrated or the issue is complex, escalate to a human team member. These are different rules that we want the AI to implement. Now, the best way that I can think about guardrails is bowling. So if you guys have been bowling before, you take the ball and you try to hit the pins and get them off. If you're anything like me, I'm complete ass at bowling, like probably one of the worst that you've seen so far. So when I go to the bowling alley, I'm not normal, so I don't actually just strike it with nothing in between. I use the guardrails. So I put it up, right? Because I can't hit the balls for my life. And so those guardrails allow me, or allow the ball, not to go to the side. And it hits the pins, yes or yes, which is how I win all my matches. But that's the way that I think about guardrails, is different things that you put on the sides of AI, so it doesn't actually go beyond the thing, right? It stays within the track itself. Hope that was helpful. Hope that analogy helped to understand guardrails. So that's the global prompt. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy this, and then I'm gonna paste it here. I'm gonna just go full screen, and you can see that we have the prompt here. So again, we're not telling it exactly what to do. We're telling it who it is, what the main kind of concept or the thing about the agent is. Now we go to the instructions. So this is telling it, hey, when this happens, do this. When that happens, do this, right? I made the prompt for this as well. So we can go here. I'm going to go to instructions, and we see here. So conversation routing. Route the conversation based on what the guest needs. And we have 4 different things that the agent is able to do. So we have booking and pricing. Use the booking playbook when the guest wants to book lessons, ask about pricing, lesson times, group sizes, or availability. Resort information. Use the resort information playbook when the guest asks about meeting points, bus routes, ski pass information, and so on. Instruction information. Use the instruction playbook when a guest asks about XYZ. General FAQ. Use the main support playbook for general questions about tour de ski resort, what to expect, what to bring, cancellation policy, weather, or topics not covered above. These are instructions, right? As you can see, this is not a massive prompt. is just one of those things where like it's saying, hey, categorize the response of the user. So say, hey, when the user asks me about this, then send it to this way. When he asks about resort information, then send it to this playbook and that playbook. Now your question might be, what is a playbook? So before I explain what a playbook is, I'm gonna copy this and then I'm gonna go back to VoiceFlow and I'm gonna paste it here. And again, we have starting message, we have the tools. Now, one thing I forgot to mention as well for the prompts, if I go to global prompt, you can also see that we have these hashtags. The way that these hashtags works is that if I go here, these are headings. So this is heading 2. If I go here and put 1 hashtag, it'll be heading 1. If I put 3, heading 3, heading 2, and so on, right? You can see the gist of things. The reason we do this is because AI, just like a human, needs to categorize different information. It needs to know that this is the title of this and this is the title of this. That way it knows that this information just corresponds to the response rules. Because if everything was the same font, then it wouldn't really know what's more important, like what is what, essentially. Now, to the point of playbooks, right? Playbooks are what we have here. So these are essentially sub-agents. Now, sub-agents are an extension of the main agent. So the main agent, like the boss of the company, has different employees, right? And says, hey, if someone asks me about XYZ, I'm gonna send them to Sarah. Or if someone asks me about resort information, I'm gonna send them to Jimmy, right? And Jimmy will answer any questions about the resort information. And so we want to have different playbooks for different things, right? So now we have the global prompt, we have the instructions. Now we have to create the different paths of the actual, where the agent goes, right? In case we ask it any questions. So first things first, we go here, we press plus for playbook. I already made one just now, so you can just press create playbook. The first one here, we can name it main support playbook. And then the trigger, we can just say, use this for general questions about tour to ski resort, what to expect, what to bring, cancellation policy, weather topics, and so on, right? Then what we would do is I would paste the whole prompt that I have here, right here. So here's the prompt. We say main support playbook, your job, the knowledge base. So here's all the questions that it could answer. Again, this would be like a document that it uses to be able to answer any questions. Lesson types, lesson times, meeting points, what to bring, ski pass information, bus transport, cancellation policy, conversational flow, greet the user, answer rude, suggest next steps, and so on. So these are all the different things that it has to do inside the conversation. Button strategy, rules, response guidelines, example, escalation, and so on. When we're talking about general questions, it will go down this exact like route of conversation. Okay, we're not going to use any tools for this because it's just about answering questions. And this will be the knowledge part of the actual agent. So we have the LLM, we have the instructions, this is the knowledge part. So if we ask any questions about this, it will pull the information here. Lesson types, lesson times, meeting points, what to bring, and so on. That's the first thing. Now I do also want to press here and give it a, I think I already gave it to me. Yeah, it's fine. There you go. This is a trigger. So saying, hey, trigger this when this happens. The more specific you are about what the trigger is, the better the result will be. Like the more accurate it will be sending it that way. That's the first playbook. So that will be the main playbook, general FAQ. The second here will be instructor information. So instruction playbook. So create playbook, instruction playbook. And then the trigger will be use this when the guest. So use this when the guest asks specific questions about instructors, instructor qualifications, or request a particular instructor. And then I'm going to paste this whole prompt here. So this whole prompt will give the instructor information. Your job is to provide general information about our instruction team, help guests feel confident in learning with experienced professionals. Instructor requests should always be treated as a preference rather than guarantees, right? Our instructors, and then we go into Ethan, is this, Isabel, is this, Luca, is this, Elena, Ryan, and so on. And then some more information as well, and guardrails. We always want to add guardrails into the prompt to make sure that, it doesn't actually deviate. So that's the second one. Then we have to make the third one, which in this case is resort information playbook. So resort information. And we're going to write, use this when the guests ask about meeting points, bus routes, ski pass information, resort facilities, or getting around. And then I'm going to be pasting this whole prompt here. So the prompt says pretty much the same thing. Again, all the different formats and stuff, they're all pretty much the same. Like they don't really change. We have meeting points, we have private lessons, ski pass information, transport, and so on, lockers, common questions, and so on, and everything else. Well, you might ask, well, if these are all like answering questions, why don't we just have like one prompt with all the questions and everything there? It's because we usually like to split things up in terms of the context of the question. So if this is just a general FAQ, then we much rather have a playbook just for that. If it's about resort information, we have a playbook just for that, right? So we rather have one, like different employees for different things, for different questions, types of questions, rather than one employee with all the questions. Because it can be inaccurate. It can use different answers to the wrong questions, you know, and so splitting things up gives the AI more space to breathe, and it will increase the accuracy of the agent itself. Now we made the third one. Let's do the last one, which is booking playbook. I'll go here, plus create playbook, booking playbook. And I'm gonna say, use this when the guest wants to book lessons, ask about pricing, lesson times, group sizes, or availability. And we go to booking, and we can paste this here. So you handle lessons, bookings, and pricing increase for Torti Ski Resort. Man, I wish I had a business with that name. Your job is to help guests explore lesson options and so on. Group lessons is this, private lessons is this, mountain kids program, multi-day packages, session times, and we have a booking flow. The booking flow is essentially the conversation that it goes through to ask qualifying questions. So how many guests are participating? How many adults? Which dates? What is your ski or snowboarding experience level? Because then it uses all this information to then send to our team, and we can then follow up with them because our agent already had a conversation with them. And it shortened the time of us reaching out to them because we already know what they want, right? It's much easier. Okay, so gather information, make a recommendation, gather booking information, send to reservations. So pass the details into the booking workflow, inform the guest, our reservation team will send you booking confirmation within 2 days. Payment instructions will be included in the confirmation email. There we go. Okay, so now we finished writing the different playbooks that we have here. So in this point, the agent is now able to actually use these playbooks to answer any questions specific to what the user wants, right? Now I'm gonna turn down cards, carousel, web search, and we'll end this fine because we don't really need them. I feel like we don't even need knowledge base because knowledge base is included inside the playbooks. So now I can just press run. And I can test this agent right here. You're gonna see a whole line of code. And this is the logs. So this is when I ask a question, like I'm gonna ask any question specifically about the resort or whatever, and we can see how the agent actually acts. So I have a question around this resort information. So it used the resort info playbook because we asked it something about the resort information. Meeting points, where are the meeting points? Adult, kids, meeting point, private lessons, we can do kids. The kids meeting point is outside the ES building, about 50 meters, or the Shondane entrance. Okay, there you go. I want to book a lesson. You can see here how it now went to the booking playbook. So this is cool because especially when it comes to debugging, like making sure that things are working right, we can see what went wrong based on what it used, right? I can help you find the right lessons. How many guests will be joining? 5 guests, 2 children, 3 adults, 3 audits. Okay, my bad. Which dates are you interested in? We can do. Let me see if this works, because I know AI is pretty bad with dates. So let me just say we can do tomorrow, which is 25th of June. So what date is tomorrow? Okay, perfect. It actually is pretty good. I believe because we added a date to the actual prompt. Anyways, what everyone's experience level, we are all beginners and can do group. 5 beginners with a group. Okay, perfect. For a morning session, morning break, pass information, please send full names of all prior participants. Okay, so it asked me for the names, ages, email address, and phone number, and specific requests. I just put Jack, Jane, Kelly, Luca, James, and surname is Daniels. One is 10 years old and the other is 8. John@gmail.com, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever, and then no special requests. I'm gonna press this, and now the agent itself will retain the information, right? So now it says, thanks for the details, contact and so on. Our reservation team will send you booking information within 2 hours. Payment instructions will be included in the confirmation email. First things first, this is great for testing just because of the fact that like we can see all the logs. So the whole conversation is here, right? The conversation started, the main agent started. How can I help you? We said, I have a question around resort information. We can see that the main agent transferred to the playbook resort info playbook. Then we said, what would I like to know? I said, where are the meeting points? It answered the question. And then I said, I want to book a lessons. There we go. I want to book a lessons. And then the resort info playbook called transfer to playbook booking playbook. Meaning that now we go from the resort info playbook to the booking playbook, right? I should have changed the name, but there you go. So we go from resort to booking, right? And so we can see that different playbooks are used based on the context of the conversation, which is perfect. And by the way, you can also see the pricing here. All right, cool. So press X and we go back to here. So the testing is good. Now, there's one thing that I didn't cover here, which is the knowledge base, right? Now, I said what it is, but I didn't actually add anything there. And the reason that is because we already added the Q&A on the playbooks. So here, the main support, I already have all the information. The knowledge base is already here, right? So you can do it either way. The only time where I go here to the knowledge base and start adding stuff is if it's something that's super, super long, or if it's a web page, right? Now, how does this work? So you can actually put a link to a web page and it will scrape the web page, meaning that it will extract the information from your website to answer any questions. So I can go here to web page and we can actually add multiple web pages. So front desk as IQ.com, front desk IQ. So I made a website here called frontdeskiq.com. And the way that this will work is that you will basically just copy this, go back to VoiceFlow. You can copy this. And then the refresh rate is how often do you want the agent to re-scrape the whole website. The reason this happens is because a lot of websites change. You might add a about me section tomorrow. You might add a, I don't know, another service, right? And so you want the agent to like continuously be updated with the information that you have on the website. Then you have LLM chunking strategy. You can just do FAQ optimization because we want to optimize for question and answers. That's fine. And then folder, it's okay if you leave it as all data sources. And then you also have metadata, which I don't personally use. So you can leave it at that. And then you can import one web pages. Now I'm not going to use this because this website is completely off the radar of whatever we're doing here because it's a ski resort. This is an inbound receptionist agent, so it's different. So with that said, you can also add web pages, you can add sitemaps, you can add docs, tables, plain text, Zendesk, and Shopify as well, in case you want to connect this knowledge base to your Shopify store. And this is a very, very good use case because a lot of e-commerce stores have Shopify stores and they keep adding more and more products. And so the agent is always updated. So at this point, we have finished the global prompt, the instructions, and all the playbooks. But the next step is actually making sure that when we want to book an appointment, we don't actually book it here. It says it'll keep the details and then let our team know. And so we need a way for us to transfer information from VoiceFlow to somewhere else. So in this case, we can make a Google Sheets here. I just put Sheets on you. And we can name this Ski Resort Lead Information Booking. I'm going to leave the headers blank for a second because I don't know what I'm going to put there. But if I go back to VoiceFlow and I go to the booking playbook, for tools, I can connect this to our Google Sheets through API, right? So it has an API, I can press on Google Sheets. All right, so once you connect to your Google Sheets, you have this right here. It will stay connected. Now, I actually had to switch my browser because I was using Firefox, but it didn't work for some reason. So Google Chrome works fine. Once you connect it, you want to press add to sheet right here. And then you will be on this page. You can go to spreadsheet URL, select a spreadsheet, make sure it's your account that's actually connected. And then you can go to ski resort leads information. There you go. Select value provided. We can go to range. We can leave this as is. You can do sheet 1 and then values. So here is where it gets just a bit tricky, right? Because the values, I'm going to paste this here. So what is this that I put here? It looks very complex. It's actually pretty easy. All my Google Sheet that I made here, I actually added different names of columns. So I added lesson type, activity, level, time, date, number of guests, participants, email, and special requests, because this is the place where the agent is going to add the information to when it receives all the requirements from the user. All this is saying is output exactly one array containing one inner array of 14 values in this format, V1, V2, V3 until V14. Do not create a separate array per field. Do not include any fields, label, or column names, values only. And then it will tell it to give me everything in a specific format in a way where it can fit towards this, right? So I recommend that you just like copy this. You can take a screenshot, put it through ChatGPT, say transcribe, and you get the text. And make sure though that these are the same names, right? And you can change the names as well. We've now implemented this as well to make sure that when we do talk to the agent, it actually sends all the information correctly into the Google Sheet. And that's it. So you should have this, this, and this all good to go. And now we can test. So we can go here, run, and we can go to I want to book an appointment. And now it should ask me a couple questions about me specifically. By the way, we should see the information coming here after we give all the information. So it will be 5 guests, 2 kids, or actually all adults. Dates we can do tomorrow, beginner, snowboarding. Okay, what times would you prefer tomorrow? Morning is fine. Perfect tomorrow morning. To pass this information, full names, Jack, Daniela, Luca, James, and Christian. Email address, so ages 20, 22, 24, 52, 50, and 64. My email address is going to be john@gmail.com. The most common email on the internet. I swear, whoever has john@gmail.com is actually just getting spammed all day by people trying to test agents. And then we can say no special requirements. There we go. Okay, then it asks me, should I use Torty as a surname? Yes, use Torty. As you can see here, let's scroll down because there's a lot here. The agent booking playbook called the Google Sheets append spreadsheet tool, and it succeeded. So if I go here and refresh, we can see here that we have private lesson request tomorrow morning 9 a.m. We should also add the date of today in this case. Time, date. Okay, so the columns are a bit messed up, which is fine. We can just update these. Number of guests, participants, names, special requirements, or in this case, ages, and then email, no special requirements, and $210 an hour, which is the price. So you can obviously go ahead and update this, but you got to see how the agent is now able to access Google Sheets through what we call an API and tools, right? All right, so I just updated the actual columns, so they're all accurate. So the next time it actually runs, it runs successfully. All right, so now that we finished the agent, so we have the global prompt, we have the instructions, we have the playbooks, we have the API, we have the tools, we have all that stuff. The agent is finished. What happens to the agent now? How do we publish it? How does it work? So ahead of this video, I actually made this website right here. This website is just a very regular website that I made with Claude Code, where I wanted to show you how you can now take the chatbot and then deploy it on the actual thing itself. So when we go here, we can go to publish, press publish here, and then we should go to widget, which is a deployment. And this is the important part. So I'm gonna copy this code right here, which is gonna enable Claude Code. I'm gonna say, hey, Claude Code, put this code inside the website, because the Claude Code is the software that made my website and does all the code. And it's gonna take this, it's gonna update GitHub, which is a place where we store all the different folders of the website, which will then update my website hosting platform, which is Vercel. So super, super easy, but I'm just gonna copy this. And I'm gonna go here to Claude Code, where we have the travel agency website. And then it says paste this code snippet before closing the body. So I'm gonna copy this first of all, and paste it here. But then before this, I'm going to copy this and paste it here. And then I'm gonna say, I built a chatbot or a chat agent using VoiceFlow. Please follow these instructions to deploy it here and push it to GitHub. I'm gonna press bypass permissions. And don't worry if you've never used Claude Code before, like we'll talk about this as well. I want to show you the whole process of updating it though. It says I'll add the VoiceFlow chat widget script right before the closing body tag. Perfect. All right, so we finished updating it to GitHub, which is going to be the one right here. All right, and on the website right here, we can see that we have deployed the agent. We can go to talk to AI. It will ask us, hey, welcome to the Tortoise Ski Resort. How can I help you with your ski school plans today? When are you guys open? So not the best spelling, but it gives me the answer, right? So we basically deployed it for this website specifically. And now we can go ahead and obviously change the logo, change the name and so on. But that is a full process from building to actually deploying this on the website itself. To change the appearance, we can just go to here, obviously change this, like the different dimensions. But then for appearance and style, we can change the logo. We can change different, the header, like the way that, you know, the actual name of the agent, and other things like that as well. So there's a lot more things that you can do with the AI agent itself, but you got to see how we were now able to build the agent and deploy the agent on our website as well. And when it comes to delivering this for clients, the actual deliverable that you'll give for them is the code, right? So you give them the code, not them specifically, of course, they wouldn't really know what to do with it. But typically the clients that we work with have someone that has built them a website. And so if you tell them, hey, paste this code snippet before the closing body, and you give them the code, they will do that and it will automatically update on the website. And so that's the easiest way that you can deliver this for clients. Or if the client doesn't have someone who's responsible for the website, then you can just hop on a call with the client. You can do it for them, which we've done before as well, to make it as easy as possible. And we're gonna go through the whole delivery process, packaging, pricing, offers, how to sell these to businesses as well. at the end of the video. So stay tuned for that because it's going to be good. All right, so that marks the end for build number 1. Now, bear in mind, I'm going to give you guys the blueprint of the actual agent. So you can just go here and you can press import and you can import the file. You can find everything in the second link down below. In my free school community, you can go to the classroom section and you can go to the templates vault. And now that we're done with build number 1, we can go to build number 2, which is an inbound receptionist. All right, so the way that the inbound AI receptionist works is that we're going to build a voice agent. So instead of doing a chat agent, now we're going to build an agent that we can call over the phone. And this agent is going to be able to answer calls, book appointments, and answer questions. So it all starts from the user calling the actual business. Then we're going to use Retail AI as the platform to build the agent. Retail AI will have a knowledge base, which is a document that the agent uses to be able to answer questions. And then we have cal.com, which is a platform that allows us to book appointments. And obviously the caller is finished, right? It handled. So it will be an agent, book appointments, and answer questions. Very, very simple. It is all going to be built on Retail AI using cal.com as well as a platform to book appointments. So with that said, let's dive in. All right, so the first thing you want to do is you want to go to retailai.com and you want to go to try for free. Once you press try for free, you'll get on this page. You can press sign up and then you can use your email. I'm going to press continue with Google. You can add your code and then finally you get into your account. All right, so once you get into your account, you will get on a page that looks like this. This is right here is the retail dashboard. So we're going to go through everything step by step. If you've not seen retail before, it's actually very, very simple to use. Hence why I like using it. It's super, super comfortable and very beginner friendly, especially for people who don't know how to code like myself. So great. Now, the first thing we have on the left is the different options, right? We have build, we have deploy, we have data, we have monitor, and we have system. All right, so the first thing we can see here is we have agents. This right here is going to be the place where we build the agent itself, the prompt, the settings, all that stuff. Then we have the knowledge base, which is where we're going to be adding, as you can see here, like a PDF or some sort of like document that the agent is able to use to answer questions. Then we have phone numbers, which is where we can buy the phone number. Now, bear in mind that you need to verify yourself, which we will do in just a second. But if you're in America, I recommend buying in Retail AI because it gives you the ability only to buy US numbers. But if you are in Europe, then this wouldn't work for you. You have to go to Twilio or Telnix, or you can use other providers as well to buy the number. But again, this only allows you to buy the number in the US. Then we have the option to batch call, so call multiple people at once. We have call history, so you can see all the different calls you've done before. You can see chat history, contacts that you have in case you want to add contacts. You can sync your CRM into Retail AI. You can monitor your calls. You can monitor the live calls. You can do AI quality assurance, alerting, integrations, billing, and settings, right? There's a ton more stuff that we have here, but the main one that we're going to use is going to be agent, knowledge base, phone numbers, and we're also going to see the calls that we had using our call history. So with that said, let's go here to agent and press create an agent, voice agent, and make sure that you don't press conversational flow, right? You just press single prompt agent. And the reason why we want a single prompt over a conversational flow is because with a single prompt, you're able to have what we call a free-form conversation instead of a deterministic conversation. So what's the difference? A free flow conversation is sort of like a conversation that can go any different way, depending on what the user wants. A conversational flow, a deterministic conversation, is a conversation that you can determine. So step 1 is this, step 2 is this, step 3 is this. And it doesn't really go beyond the guardrails. It just stays there, right? And that's not what we want to do. We want to have a conversation with the user. So you can put single prompt, you can put create an agent. Once you create the agent, you will get on a page that looks like this. All right, so this right here is the retail dashboard, is where we're going to build the actual agent itself, choosing the welcome message, the AI, the cost, the latency, the voice, the language, the function, knowledge base, all that stuff. We can publish it, we can test it. Everything is here. So super, super simple. We have on the left-hand side where we're going to be adding the prompt and we're going to be changing the settings in terms of AI and voice and language, right? Of course, language is going to be English, but then we have the AI and we have the voice. Now, the way that the agent charges you is by minute. So we have the cost, and the cost depends on what AI you use and basically what voice you use. So in this case, the voice is connected to a software that we call 11 Labs. So 11 Labs is a software that has different voices, and Retail AI has a partnership with 11 Labs, and we basically use the voice in 11 Labs for our agent. So if you go here, for example, and I press play.
Hi, I'm Simo, an AI voice agent for Retail AI. My calm, friendly voice is here to guide you through anything you need.
There you go. So we had different voices. Even this guy, is it a guy? Yeah, it's a guy.
Customers,
there you go.
Money.
There you go. So you have different voices. I'm going to go with Simo for now, just to keep it very, very simple. but you can go around and kind of choose which language you want. So those are the voices. I recommend that if you're in America, this will be great for you, as in you can use all the voices that are here, because primarily English is the main language that people use. But if you were in Europe or any different other place that's not English language, then I recommend using Fish Audio. Okay, it's a new software. I would recommend using that to choose the voices. This is the cost, again, based on the AI model and the voice itself. And if I change the model to, let's say, GPT 4.1, you can see that the price changes. So the model actually does impact the price. I'm gonna choose 5.1 for now. It is on the cheaper side, but also very, very good in terms of quality. Then here we have latency, which is the time between when the agent speaks and you speak, and kind of the conversation and how natural it sounds. Then we have tokens, which is the amount of tokens that the AI uses, or that AI is able to use in a conversation. And you can see here that prompts exceeding 3,500 tokens incur a supercharge. So you want to keep your prompt 3.5k tokens below to make sure that it has all the information. It doesn't overload. We have the AI, we have the voice, we have the language. You can choose whatever language you want. I recommend that if you do Italian or French or whatever, your prompt should be French as well, because then it's going to be easier for the AI to understand. Then down here we can see the welcome message. So in this case, we're going to be adding a welcome message. So we're going to say the AI speaks first. Here I'm going to put custom message, and I'm going to say, hello, this is Grace, a digital assistant for Torty Law Estate. How can I help? So in theory now, whenever we press run test, the agent will say this at the start. So whenever you call the agent, this is the first thing that the agent says. Okay, let's try this out. Now there's gonna be an issue though, because when I press run test, it will say the sound out loud and it will go inside my mic and it will make it seem like I'm talking back to the agent, but we'll just test this.
Oh, this is Grace, a digital assistant for Torty Law.
Okay, there you go. So you saw that it said the thing, then it was gonna go back and have a conversation, but that's not what we wanna do. So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing is gonna be adding the prompt. So I already have a prompt here. I'm gonna paste it here and we'll go through everything step by step. So we have the role, objective, personality, context, instructions. We have available tools. We have end call. We have qualifying questions. We have qualifying criteria. We have stages. And then we have example interactions. Okay. So super, super easy. The prompt does follow a very, very strict framework that we use for every single prompt for voice agents, just to keep them as simple as possible and as structured as possible as well. So the first things first is a role and an objective. So we say you are Grace, a digital assistant. Your primary objective is to qualify incoming callers and book them for a 30-minute consultation if they are qualified. Personality says you are warm and reassuring without being exaggerated. Emphasize your warmth when the user expresses emotional distress, but efficient when they're businesslike. Then we give them context. So you are an AI assistant, not a lawyer, and cannot provide legal advice. Business hours, 8 to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. Current time, we give it this. Then we have the user's phone number. So the user number, these are all variables that we add to the agent. We put curly bracket, user number, right? So the user knows, also the agent knows, sorry. Consultation length will be 30 minutes. We have 3 lawyers at the firm. We have James Mitchell, David Chen, and Maria Rodriguez. We have instructions. So don't say this when this happens. Keep a natural language or keep a natural tone. When it comes to names, we say first name is Jane, spelled Jane. Last name is Johnson, spelled Johnsson. And so all communication style is basically different rules around how you should speak. So part of this is asking questions like, hey, what's your name? Spell your name, spell your email, right? And so these are all different rules that we give it in terms of saying, hey, when a person says this, then do this. When he says, use natural filler words such as and so very sparingly, maximum once every 2 interactions. And so this is part of setting guardrails for the agent whenever it speaks to you, right? Again, you can go a lot more detailed than this, but I think this is a good start in terms of what you should tell the agent so that we're able to have a good conversation. Then we have available tools. So available tools is essentially the ability for the agent to book appointments. And this is where we go to functions and we add the tools here, which will go in just a second. But we'll have the tool to book appointments and end call. And so under here, we essentially tell the agent that it can only book the appointment once it qualifies the person itself. If there's no qualifying, then we don't book the appointment yet, right? So before booking the appointment, it's gonna ask you a series of qualifying questions. And then once you go through all these questions, then it books the appointment, right? Then we add rules in terms of availability. So when I ask the agent, hey, when are you available? When are you free? We set rules on that. And so these are all rules in terms of availability, how it should, reply to the agent and so on. And then we go to qualifying questions. So qualifying questions is essentially the different questions that the agent needs to ask the user to get information on before it books the appointment. Okay, so question 1, question 2, question 3, and so on. Then we have qualifying criteria. So the person must be a family matter in divorce, child custody, adoption, spousal support, domestic violence, must not be a personal injury, car accident, any matter outside of family law, and location must be within New York State. So if we say, hey, we are based in Minnesota on this question, then it will say we cannot help you, right? Which is great because that's what a human would do. So in this case, the agent will do. Then we have different stages of the conversation, which will be greetings, qualifying questions, appointment booking, call closing, and then we have different interactions. So the interactions are important just because of the fact that we want to give it examples of what good looks like. Let's say we're training an employee, right? If I say, hey, here's like 2 different conversations that like you should model these conversations when you have your own conversation, then it will do a much better job because it has an example that it uses, right? So here we have example 1, qualified user, successful booking, and the conversation starts with this. Thank you for calling Tordy's Law Estate. My name is Grace. I'm a digital assistant here. This call is being recorded for quality purposes. How can I help you today? Well, actually, this should be your main message. So let me just paste this here. Thanks for calling Tordy Law Estate. My name is Grace. I'm a digital assistant here. This call is being recorded for quality purposes. How can I help you today? Hi, I need help with the divorce. I'm sorry to hear that you're going through this. What should the lawyers know about your situation? My husband and I have been separated for 3 months and we have 2 kids. We need to figure out custody and divide our assets. I understand that sounds like a challenging situation. What location is this matter in? So you see how it also adds the human aspect of it, which is showing empathy to the user. Again, the whole point of an agent here is not for the person to think that it's human, right? It's to speed things up and to like be able to reply to all the customers that answer the phone. And so in adding these, it will generate a different flow of conversation and it will not sound very robotic. It will be like a human would, because a human would say exactly this. And so now we give it the whole like agent, user of what the agent says, what the user says, and so on. So it can model this when it actually, books the appointment. And we give it another example as well. So again, this right here is the prompt. Pretty strong prompt because it has different parts to it. The more detailed the prompt, the better the output is. So this is part of like the instructions of the AI agent, like we mentioned, being one of the main parts of the agent is the instructions that you give it, right? If this is bad, you cannot expect the agent to do a good job because it's not the best, right? Whilst if this is very, very detailed step by step with guardrails and rules, then it will follow what you say more closely. All right, so now that we're done with the actual instructions of the agent, which is the prompt, essentially what we want it to do, now we're going to give it the tools, so the functions of what it can do. So it can take action, it can book appointments, it can check availability, it can end the call, and so on. So this is where we go here. We can zoom in and we can go to functions. So this is to enable your agent with capabilities such as calendar bookings, call termination, etc. So we have one here, which is end call. If you recall here, when I go to available tools, we have the end call. There you go, end call. So the available tools are going to be end call, which you already have, which by the way is just a prompt. And then now we have to add the 2 different ones. We have to add the check availability and we have to add the calendar booking. So if I go to add, I can see that I have a ton of, I have call transfer, I have SMS, IVR, and so on. But we have 2 here, check availability and book appointments. So we can go on this one first. Check availability. When the user asks for availability, just check the calendar and provide available slots. And now we need the API key for cal.com, the event ID for cal.com, and the time zone that we have. So to do that, we can go to cal.com. You can go here. You can actually sign up to cal.com. I already made an account, so I'll use mine. And once you sign up to cal.com, you get on a page that looks like this. Now, I already have a ton of calendar events because I use this every single day. But the first thing you want to do is you want to create an event type. So you want to press new, and you can name this lawyer consultation. Duration, let's do 30 minutes. For myself, that's fine. Continue. I already have a consultation. It looks like this. So you can just press continue because you will not have one. And that's it. So we have availability. In this case, mine is from 3:30 p.m. to 12 a.m. and then 12 a.m. to 1:30 a.m. With my time. And right now I'm in this time zone. So Asia/Dubai. So I'll use that. And that's it. So if you are in America/New York, then in here, you put America/New York or whatever time zone you're in. In this case, I'm in Asia/Dubai, so I'll use this. Now that we made the actual event ID, which is just a link, by the way, that someone can use to book an appointment, like this, super easy. Now, what we have to do is we have to go back here, and on the URL on the top, we can get the number. So there's a number between event types and question tab name. This is the number that we call event type ID, and that's the one that we paste here, event type ID. So it knows which event it's going to use. Now, the second thing is that we have to go back to the dashboard and we have to go down to settings to get our API key. So settings, API key on the bottom, and we have to make a new key. You can name this retail agent. You can put never expires. That's the one that I put just because I don't want to go back and make a new one every single time. So you can press create. You can go to kyle.com. You can just copy this API key and then you can bring it back and paste it here. So now it has the password to your account and it will use this exact event type ID to check the calendar availability. Okay. And that's the first one. All right. So that's it. We can press save. And now we are done with the availability. So now the agent is able to check the availability on the calendar. The second thing is we have to book the appointment. So now that it knows when we are available, now it has to actually book the calendar event with the user. So we can go to book on the calendar. And then in terms of the description, you can make this more complex, more detailed. I want to keep it very, very simple. We can just leave it as this. So when the user asks to book an appointment, book it on the calendar. Yeah, so that's fine. We have the name, description. Now we have the API key. So just copy the API key that we had just now, paste this here. And then we have to paste the event type ID as well. And then change your time zone. So time zone, just make sure it matches the time zone you have here, like consultation 1, availability here. Make sure it matches this. And by the way, to set availability, you can just also go here and you can make a new availability. Name this, I don't know, lawyer consultation, and then you can set the times when you want to do. If you don't set this, it's going to do like a default one from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. like you see here. But it's fine. It just depends on when you're available and when you want to add your bookings. Right. So we can press save. And now we give the AI the tools. So we have check availability and we have book the appointments, which is great. So now it has the capabilities of doing whatever we want it to do. There's one more thing, which is the knowledge base. So the knowledge base is going to be the document full of information of Q&As, FAQs, that the agent is going to use to answer questions about the company when the user asks. Now, I don't have a knowledge base prepared, but we can just make one right now using AI just as a test. I'm going to use a doc here and name this Torti Law Estate knowledge base. I can go to ChatGPT. I can go back to retail. I can paste this here. And then I'll say, you are an expert knowledge base creator and you create very high detailed knowledge bases full of Q&As. Now I'm making an agent, a test agent, and I will give you the prompt of the agent down below. What I want you to do is give me a pretty simple knowledge base, a document full of FAQs. You can make up the questions and answers. I'm using this as an example for a video. So give me the knowledge base as well. Now, in theory, you would have an actual knowledge base. You wouldn't just ask AI to do it, or the business itself would have like FAQs, but in this case, I don't. So, all right, so I just finished making the actual knowledge base. I can copy this and I can paste it here. So it has questions, what types of cases, what cases does the firm not handle, which states, attorneys, who handles the divorce cases, and so on. Amazing. We can download this as a PDF. We can go back to retail. We can go to add a new knowledge base. We can press plus here. We can name this Torti Law Estate knowledge base. And I can upload a file here, upload files, and there it is. As you can see, you can also add web pages and text. Now, I personally don't like to add web pages for voice agents just because it can tend to be a bit slower, but I just like to get the information from the web page into like a document so they can answer directly because it is faster. All right, so we added the knowledge base. We can press save. I'm going to delete the one I had before because I don't know why I have it here. It's now vectorizing the knowledge base. Very fancy term of saying it's taking the document and making it in a way where AI can read it. Knowledge base, I can press add. I can press this, Torti Law Estate knowledge base. So now it has access to the knowledge base that it's going to use to be able to answer questions for the user. All right, so now it has all the functionalities that it needs, or all the different tools and functions, knowledge base, book appointments, stuff that we actually wanted to. These ones here, these settings are mainly specifically to tweak the agent, like how it speaks, the voice, all that stuff. So the first thing we have here is speech settings, and we have background sound. So background sound is essentially the sound of the actual agent. Now, typically, I do like to use not call center because call center is very, very loud, but you can do coffee shop. Yeah, coffee shop, I think, is one of the best. Very, very simple. Response eagerness, I usually leave this 0.95. This is how quickly the agent starts responding after the user finishes. You don't want it to be like instant You obviously want to take some time, just like a normal person would. Interruption sensitivity, how quickly the agent stops when the user walks over it. This is fine. Reminder message frequency, control how often the AI will send the reminder message. This is fine. You can leave this as is. You can also add some, words pronunciations in case, like, for example, Michele, some people call it Michelle. So you can basically put the pronunciation of specific words. In this case, we don't need to, so it's fine. Real-time transcription settings, remove noise, remove background noise, that's fine. Transcription is fine. Yeah, leave everything as is. It's all good. And then we have call settings. We have voicemail detection. All of these we don't really need. It's not relevant for this. The one thing you want to change is this. So end call on silence. End the call if user stays silent for extended period of time. Because we're paying permanent, there are going to be some people that call your agent for fun, So we want to make this like 45 seconds when it's silent, or actually even 30 seconds when there's silence, because no one's going to speak, right? Max call duration, definitely not 1 hour. You can make this, it depends on the business, right? But let's say we make this like 5 minutes. And ring duration is fine. You can leave everything else as is. There's nothing else we have to do. Now we can press publish, and you can press publish. There you go. All right, so we built the agent itself. Now it's a time to buy the number, and it's time to connect the number to the agent. So we can go back. Let me actually name this so I know exactly which one it is. Torty Law Estate, and then I can delete the other one. We can go to phone numbers. Press plus, buy a new number, and you can start the verification. All right, so when you're done verifying, it should say, congratulations, you're done. All right, so now that we've verified our identity, we can go to phone number, buy a new number, and we're gonna use Twilio to buy the number, right? Instead of retail. So you can do standard, we can do in San Francisco, purchase, and now we've purchased the number here. Now bear in mind that the number is $2 per month, so very, very cheap, but also you would need to change your account billing to pay as you go, because obviously you have to pay for this. So you have to add your credit card details, and you will pay for the phone number, but also for the minutes. Now, also bear in mind that they give you $10 for free when you get your account. So for your testing and everything else, you won't really have to pay for anything. When you work with clients, they have their own retail account and they pay for their own retail, and you just get access to their account. So it's much easier. So you're not gonna have any overhead when you're using these softwares. So with this said, here's a number that we're going to use, provider Twilio, that's fine. And then we have inbound call agent, and we want to connect this. So latest published, there you go. And that's fine, that's it. We also have the outbound agent, which we're going to use later as well, but don't worry about this now. Now, if I call this number, it should direct me to the agent. So now we've connected the agent with this number here, right? Super, super easy. It took us like 2 minutes, so it was really, really seamless. Hence why I like retail AI, because it's so easy. Now, if you go back to agents, you can see that you have the phone number here. It's connected. So now let me just call the number, and then we can talk to the agent to see if it works. If it doesn't, we'll fix it too. So
thank you for calling Torty Law Estate. My name is Grace. I'm a digital assistant here. This call is being recorded for quality purposes. How can I help you today?
What is it that you guys do?
Yeah, Torty Law Estate is a family law firm serving people in New York State. The lawyers handle divorce, child custody and visitation, child support, adoption, spousal support, and domestic violence and protective orders.
Can I ask,
How can we
who handles the divorce cases? What's his name?
James Mitchell is the lawyer who handles divorce cases, including property division and spousal support.
What's his number?
How can I help you? James Mitchell's number is 555-1-2-3-4-5-6-7. How else can I help you today?
I want to book an appointment. Is that possible?
Yes, that's possible. Are you looking to speak with someone about a divorce, child custody, or another family law issue?
Yes, I am actually.
Okay. What should the lawyers know about your situation?
I'm divorced with 5 kids, and she wants to take all the money.
Sorry you're dealing with that, especially with 5 kids involved. What location or jurisdiction is this matter in?
It's in New York.
Got it. Thanks for confirming it's in New York. Since you mentioned 5 kids, there are children involved, right?
Yes, correct.
Thanks for confirming. Let me get you scheduled for a 30-minute consultation with one of our attorneys. We have availability on upcoming weekdays between 8 in the morning and 5 in the afternoon. What day and time over the next week works best for you?
Can you do Tuesday?
Yeah, we can look at Tuesday. What time on Tuesday works best for you between 8 in the morning and 5 in the afternoon?
1 p.m. is fine.
All right, I'll book you in for Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern time now. My apologies. It looks like that exact time is not available after all. Let's find another slot on Tuesday. Would earlier around 11 in the morning work better, or
Sure.
later around 3 in the afternoon?
Whenever your first slot is on Tuesday, I'll take it.
Okay, I'll book you for the first available slot on Tuesday at 9 in the morning Eastern time. My apologies, it looks like my system isn't able to lock in a time right now. I can still get you queued for a
Okay, so it didn't work. So perfect, because now I can show you how I fix the agent when it doesn't work. There's a few different reasons as to why this happens. So my first hypothesis as to why this is not working is because I do say here that it's Eastern time and I put America/New York, but my time zone is Asia/Dubai. So first thing I need to do is I need to copy this and paste this. So I can just do /current time Asia/Dubai. There we go. And we can delete the other one. And then Monday through Friday, Asia/Dubai time. So we'll see if this works. I'm not entirely sure that's the issue, but it's all about testing and then see if it works. If it doesn't, we'll check something else. But I'm pretty sure that is the thing that's causing it not to work. So let's try again. Let me publish this. Let's do 26 June final, publish. And then when I go back to numbers, I have to update the agent there. 26 June final, there we go. Now let's call the agent again and let's see what happened.
Thank you for calling Torty Law Estate. My name is Grace. I'm a digital assistant here. This call is being recorded for quality purposes. How can I help you today?
I want to book an appointment.
Okay, I can help with that. What should the lawyers know about your situation?
2 kids, divorced. She wants all the money.
I'm sorry you're dealing with that. What location or jurisdiction is this divorce and custody matter in?
New York.
Got it, New York. Are there children involved in this matter, just to confirm?
Yes, two children.
Thanks for confirming there are 2 children involved. Let me get you scheduled for a 30-minute consultation. What day or time works best for you in the coming week?
When does it work for you? Next week, Tuesday.
Let me quickly check what times we have open next Tuesday for a 30-minute consultation. We have availability next Tuesday, the 30th, from 8 in the morning to 11:30 in the morning, and from 3 in the afternoon to 4:30 in the afternoon. What time in those ranges works best for you?
3 p.m. is fine.
All right. 3 in the afternoon next Tuesday, the 30th works. What is your full legal name? And please spell it for me.
My legal name is Michele. Michele.
Okay, Michelle, I'm booking you for Tuesday the 30th at 3 in the afternoon for a 30-minute consultation now. You're all set, Michelle. You're booked for Tuesday.
Out, not Michelle. These agents, man. If there's one thing I hate about these agents is that they call me Michelle. There you go. So we have the calendar booking right here. There's one thing I need to change, which is the email, right? Because it says unknown@example.com, but it got the booking right. So it saw the availability, it booked it, and it used the right name. Well, not the right name, because it's Michele, not Michelle. But aside from that, it booked it correctly. So now we can tweak the prompt to add the email. So I believe we can go here and qualifying questions, closing, ask their full name. And I can say ask for their email address as well for booking invitation. And then down here, I believe that it also, yeah, we need to add another thing here. Perfect. Can you spell out your email for me? Michele.torty5@gmail.com. We can do that, and I can do the exact same thing here. Because even in the example, if you don't add that there, it's just not going to ask it. There you go. I believe that should be enough for us to go out and try again, and it should work just fine. Final one, publish. By the way, the reason we have to publish every single time is because it's like updating a system, right? So you want to make sure that you update the system over time. And this is what happens as well with clients. When you're deploying this for a business, you usually want to listen back to the calls, which you can find here, call history. And you want to be able to optimize the prompt over time. That's part of the monthly retainer that you would charge for this. So where am I going? 4 numbers, V5, final one. There you go. So one more time, let's do it. And then we'll see what it cooks up with.
Thanks for calling Torty Law Estate. My name is Grace. I'm a digital assistant here, and this call is being recorded for quality purposes. How can we help you today?
I want to book an appointment.
Okay, I can help with that. What should the lawyers know about your situation?
Divorced with 3 children involved. I'm in New York and she wants all my money.
Okay, that sounds like a divorce and custody and money issue with 3 children in New York. What location or county in New York is this matter in?
New York City.
Got it, New York City. And just to confirm, there are 3 children involved in this case, right?
Yes.
Thanks for confirming. Since this is a New York divorce with 3 children, we can book a 30-minute consultation. We have availability during business hours between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. What day and time work best for you in the coming week?
Do the first slot that you have on Wednesday next week.
Let me quickly check the first available slot we have next Wednesday for you. Thanks for waiting. The first slot we have next Wednesday is at 8 a.m. Does Wednesday the 1st at 8 a.m. work for you?
Yes, it does.
All right, we'll book you for Wednesday the 1st at 8 a.m. for a 30-minute consultation. What's your full name? And please spell your first and last name.
James Michael.
Thanks. I've got James Michael. What is your email address? And please spell it out.
james.michael5@gmail.com.
Thanks. Let me get that booked for you now. You're all set, James. You're booked for Wednesday the 1st.
Thank you.
at
There you go. So we booked the appointment, James Michael, 5@gmail.com. Perfect. So that right there is a full agent that is able to answer questions from the knowledge base, is able to book appointments, and it was super easy to set up. Now, just a heads up, you can turn this agent into a chat agent as well, because I mean, voice agent and chat agents are kind of the same. They're both conversational agents. The input, which is where the actual user speaks, can be through chat and it can be through voice. It doesn't really matter. But retail AI, one of the best for voice agents, because it allows us to be able to make these very realistic, human realistic sound agents that we're able to use to book appointments, answer questions, and so on. And it's extremely valuable for any business that takes customers over the phone and needs to transfer, needs to cancel, needs to reschedule, needs to book appointments, answer questions, and do all that jazz, right? To deploy this, again, you would have the number that you would give to the business owner that they can use. This will be here. And this is the one that their new customers are gonna be calling to book appointments. Or if they don't wanna use the new number, you can just simply connect the number via SIP trunking, right? And this means that you basically take their number and connect it here to the agent so that someone calls their number, it directly goes to the agent itself. So super easy to set up. Again, if you are not in the US, if you're not in America, then I would recommend using Telnix or using some sort of other providers and not buying the number here, because again, this only gives you the ability to buy US and Canada, nothing else, even Telnix. If you go here to call history, we can see that we can see the logs of the exchange itself. You can get the recording as well. We can see the call analysis, successful, the conversation, and it's extremely valuable because when you're working with clients, you'd want to look at the conversations, you want to hear back the conversations so you can see where the agent messed up and where it didn't. So I recommend also going here and looking at the session outcome and looking at the ones that were unsuccessful and then asking yourself why. And then you would have to listen back to those calls to then optimize the prompt and optimize the system over time to minimize the unsuccessful calls and to maximize the successful calls. That's it. All right, team. So that right there is the second build where we have built a full inbound receptionist, which is a voice agent that can answer questions and it can book appointments and it can check availability on your calendar. Now that we're done with build 2, let's go to the build 3, which is going to be building a speed to lead agent. All right, so the next system we're going to build is going to be a speed to lead system. So the way that it's going to work is that we're going to have a new lead filling out a form and then getting a call back instantly in under a minute. Now the use case is this. A lot of companies that run Facebook ads, Google ads, any kind of ads, which are advertisements to basically market their services, people opt in the ads, which means that they put their details, whether it's name, phone number, email, whatever that may be. Now, there was a study out there that said that the odds of contacting a lead if called within 5 minutes versus 30 minutes drops by 100 times. And the odds of qualifying a lead if called within 5 minutes versus 30 minutes drops 21 more times. And the reason this is important is because, again, this is outbound, meaning that we are calling someone, we're not receiving a call. And so we need to have the speed to lead, the speed to actually call the lead to just, give us their details to then book an appointment. That's exactly what this system does. So the first step is going to be a type form. Usually this will be like an advertisement on Facebook or Google, whatever that may be. Then we're going to use a new software that we haven't used before, which is called N8N. It's an automation platform, super easy to set up. And then N8N is going to be allowing us to take the lead submission, take the details, and then transfer it and send all the details to Retail AI, which is going to be the software that we're going to use to build the agent to then call the person, which will then book an appointment with them and log everything into the Google Sheet. So with that said, let's get to building. All right, so the first step is actually going to Retail AI and making an account. So first things first, the number that we're going to use to call is going to be this number right here. And we're going to connect it to the outbound call agent, which is the one that we're making now, right? Just bear in mind that if you haven't bought the number yet, you can go to Plus, you can buy a new number, you can use Twilio or Telnix in case you're in the US. You can choose whatever you want. Now, I recommend that for numbers, for example, if you live in Miami or Naples or whatever it is, you get the Naples one. You don't get the one in Pompano Beach. Well, I don't know where that is really, but assuming it's in a different state, you want to get the same number for the same state that you're in, okay? Because then you have a higher pickup rate. People will pick up the phone much better because it's local. Now, with that said, once you bought the number, we can go to agents on the left-hand side and we can press create an agent, voice agent, single prompt, build from scratch, and we will start here on this page. Very similar to the one that we built for the inbound receptionist. We have the prompt, we have the settings, we have the first thing that the AI will say. We have the different kind of things that we can change, and then we have the testing that we can do as well, right? And then we have the number that I can call directly. And then here we can test the agent as well in case we need to. So for the actual model itself, I'm going to leave this GPT 5.1 or 4.1 default. CMO is fine. English is fine. Then you have the tokens, cost, latency, tokens, that's fine. So I'm going to paste the prompt right here and we can zoom in and we can go through the prompt. So the first thing is the fact that we're still using Markdown formatting. Again, this is the way that computers understand the different types of hierarchy in terms of text. And then we have the role and objective. So you are a friendly solar qualification specialist for GM Solutions. You are calling lead name because they recently requested information about solar through a Facebook ad. So you might be asking yourself, what is a lead name? So when we are making the type form, which is just a software that we make forms, right? The agent is going to reach out to the person. And the first thing that they have to say is, hey, is this lead name? Is this name? Is this Michele? Is this James? Is this John, right? But how does it know the name? And that's why we set these dynamic variables so that when the agent calls, it receives the actual variable called the lead name from Typeform, and then it uses it to then know who it's calling, right? Because how is it going to know it's Michele or John for another person, right? So we use this variable right here, and you'll see how we actually transfer the variable to Retail AI to say, hey, this is the person's name, call the name or call the number and then say the name. Your goal is to confirm their interest, learn about their home and energy usage, gauge your timeline, and if qualified, book the appointment actually. Book them in for a consultation. Personality, friendly and conversational, instructions, ask one question at a time, keep responses short, track information. If they're not interested, thank them and end the call. Okay, stages, we have the introduction, confirm they're speaking to lead name, mention their recent Facebook solar inquiry, ask if now is a good time to talk. Qualification, are you the homeowner? What's the average monthly electric bill? What interested you in solar? And are you looking into solar soon or just exploring options? This use case is for a solar installation company. So it's basically companies that have solar solutions, like the thing that you put in your roof, to make things more efficient in terms of energy. And that's what we're selling to these homeowners. Outcome, if qualified, thank them and book them in for an appointment. If not interested, thank them for their time and end the call. And then we have the close and important reminders. Perfect. Now we can add the first message. So the first message that we're gonna, or the actual welcome message, sorry. We're gonna have AI speaks first, and we're gonna do a custom message. And then instead of, hello, how can I help you today? I'm gonna paste this. Hello, am I talking to lead name? Again, same exact variable that we have here. And this is pretty much the only variable that we're gonna give it. So that's fine. But am I talking to lead name is the name of the person. And then that's pretty much it for the actual settings. So welcome message done. role and instructions are done. Now we get to the settings here. So I'll leave functions in just a bit because we have to just pretty much do the regular book an appointment, check availability, end the call, stuff like that. I'm also going to add a knowledge base for this. So that's something I have to do. So let's start with that. So let me copy this prompt. Let me go to ChatGPT and then say, hey, can you make a fake knowledge base for this kind of company? I'm going to give you the prompt of the agent and so on, but it's a solar company called JM Solutions. So here is the prompt that I give the agent. Please make a knowledge base that I can use. Of course, you wouldn't like tell it this to AI because you would have the actual knowledge base from the company with real answers and real questions. But here we go. So Q&A, do you install the solar panels? Why are you calling me? Is this a sales call? Who usually qualifies for a consultant? Why do you ask if I'm a homeowner? Why do you ask about my electric bill? These are pretty good, to be honest. So it's questions about, you know, the actual company and then sales related questions. Copy this, make a new doc, and then we can paste it here. And then we can say JM Solution knowledge base demo, file, download, PDF, go back to retail AI, and then we can go back here in knowledge base. We can go to plus. We can name this JM Solutions knowledge base, upload files, choose this one, and then we can press open and press save. What it's doing now is basically, again, vectorizing it, making the document in a way where it's very, very easy for AI to take the information. Now we can go back to agent, we can go to our agent, and then here under knowledge base, we can choose JM Solutions knowledge base. So very, very easy, hence why I like, you know, retail AI. Then we can do speech settings. So respond, how quickly the agent starts responding after you. We can do this. Yeah, we can put 0.9. That's fine. 0.9 is fine. Speech, background, real transcription settings. Leave this the same. Call settings. We have to change this. So end the call if the user stays silent for extended period of time. Yeah, there are some people who are going to just not speak or they're going to have some problems. So because we're paying per minute, we want to pay as less as possible. So if the call is not really like a real person or whatever it is. So we can put this 40 seconds. That's enough time for someone to be silent and not say anything. Max call duration, depending on your qualification, but we can do like 4 minutes. Post call data extraction, that's fine. We can leave this, leave this, leave this, leave this. Okay, cool. So now we've made the main kind of bulk here. We have to just make the functions. So the functions is the capabilities of the actual agent. So when we receive the type form, it goes to the agent and then what? What does it do, right? So in this case, very similar to the inbound receptionist, we're going to be checking the calendar availability to see if there are slots that are available in our calendar. And then we're going to be booking the appointment as well. The first thing we have to do is we have to go to cal.com. We have to make an event and then we can go from there. Then here we have check availability cal.com. When user asks for availability, check the calendar and provide available slots. That's fine. And we need here the API key and we need the event type ID. Now, for those of you who don't really know what cal.com is, it's just a platform where you can book appointments, right? It's a booking software. So the first thing we have to do in cal.com is actually make this event type ID. How do we make this? Well, we have to make an event, right? So I can go to cal.com, which is this one here, cal.com. I already made an account. It's completely for free, so you're good. And then on the top right, you can press new. We can name this solar consultation. Make this 30 minutes, and then you can press continue. Set your availability for whenever you want. I have my availability for solar consultation, which is 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I can press save and then go back to basics. And then on the top right here, that's all you have to do really. So now we have the link that someone could just, directly use to be able to book the appointment, right? Instead of, the person doing it manually, the AI agent will actually go inside here and choose the slots, right? So that's fine. Now we can go above on the URL. You see this number right here, 619052. That's the one that we're going to give to our agent here, event type ID. So now it knows that it has to use that event type with that availability, with those available slots and that name of the actual meeting to be able to book appointments. So if I go back to cal.com, I can go here. Now I can get the API key by going down to settings, API keys, new, speed to lead 1. I put 1 because I already have one. As you guys can see, exactly the same. I can put never expires so that it never expires. I don't have to go to cal.com every single time to refresh the API key. I personally don't like to do that. So we can press create and then we get the API key, save it somewhere, right? Because you will not be able to review it again, but you can always make a new one as well. Go back to retail AI and we can paste this here. And then we want to change our time zone to your time zone. Right now I'm in Asia/Dubai, so that's the one that I'm in right now, but you can just add yours here. So once that's done, please copy the event type ID and copy the cal.com API key, okay? And your time zone as well, because we're gonna need this for the literally the exact same thing for the booking the appointment. So save. So now the agent is able to check the calendar availability, and then now we have to book on a calendar. So book appointments. When user asks to book an appointment, book it on the calendar. API key, we give it here. Event type ID, we can copy this and paste it, and then we can change the time zone to my time zone. All right, with that said, we can press save, and now we have the capabilities of the agent itself. So everything past the actual form that the person would fill out, the agent is now able to do. Book appointments and do all that stuff, answer questions, and so on. So with that said, we can put publish, press publish here. I'm just thinking if I missed anything, change the name to Speed to Lead Roofing, or Solar, actually. And then publish again. Perfect. So now we can go back, we can go to phone numbers. We can connect the phone number to this agent, Speed to Lead Solar, and you can do latest published. So every single time that we publish it, it would just take that one. That's convenient. So now that we're done with retail AI, we can actually take it all the way to step one, which is making the form that the lead is gonna fill out before we start making the automation inside of N10 to connect the form to the agent. So type form, make an account, and then we can press create form, and then we can make a form here, start from scratch, and you can do multi-question page. And here you can put, please fill out your personal details. There you go. Full name. I can duplicate this just because I will ask them for their email. And then here I believe it's going to be phone number. And I believe that's it, really. Unless you want to split up the full name into first name and last name. But I don't think that's going to be an issue. Actually, let's do it. Let's make it easy for the agent. First name, last name. And we can name this Solar Form. Solar Lead Form. Okay. Again, we're using type form, but the use case would either be, actually, it would either be a website form for someone requesting a quote or whatever, but it can also be ads that people run, right? So they pay for ads, and then people would just put their details here saying, hey, I'm interested. And then you follow up with them. All right, so we just finished the form itself. I believe that's all we have to do here in terms of type form. So we can go now to N10, which is gonna be the place where we will build automations that look like these, right? So drag and drop automation, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. N10 is one of the best, probably the best automation platform there is out there, in my opinion. You can make an account here, get started. You get a 14-day free trial if you just make an account. Once you made your account, you'll be here. You can press open instance, and then you will get to your account that looks like this. Now yours will be empty, right? Mine is not empty just because I've built a ton of automations. But if yours is empty, you can go to create a workflow, and then you will get on a page that looks like this. You can either build with AI, or we can add the first step manually. I like to do things manually just because I know exactly how to build it and what it would look like. So we can go here. Let me rename this to Speed to Lead Agent Solar. And then first step will be type form, right? Because this right here is the trigger of the automation. Like, what is the thing that starts the automation? And then we can go to step 2, step 3, step 4, and whatever it is, right? So step 1 is receiving the details from the form that someone would fill out. And then we move on to the next steps, right? So first step, press this, look for type form on the right-hand side. You can see all the different softwares that you're able to choose. Type form trigger. Again, trigger is the first step that initiates the flow. Press here. And now this right here is your first box, right? Your first box of the automation. First thing you want to do is you want to connect your type form. So you want to go here, create a new credential, and you want the access token. To get this, go back to type form, go to forms, account top right, go to account settings, and then you will see personal tokens on the left. And then you can press generate a new token, name this Speed to Lead, all scopes because you want access to everything, and you can press generate token. And now you'll copy the token and make sure to save it somewhere, just like cal.com. You will not be able to see it again. So save it somewhere. Got it. We can go back to NA10 and we can paste our token here. Now I already had one saved, so that's why I had it there. but you can do Michele, connection, 2nd of July. Now bear in mind that I typically like to have a naming convention for all my API keys, just because when you press save, by the way, it will just save it. So you have this here. Because of the fact that like API keys will always look like this. You will not really see what account this is connected to. So the more descriptive you are about the actual detail of the thing, the better it is. I always have the same account, but there are times where we use client accounts, you know, and so you want to make sure you say, hey, client name connection, date, right? Because you also know the date and you know who it's for. All right, so now that we connected our account to Anyten, we can choose the form that we're going to actually use. So in this case, it will be solar lead form, and we can, that's it actually. So we can now go inside, we can execute step. What this is basically saying, hey, let's just test it so we can see the output here. The execute step, now what this is doing is listening for the test event. It's listening for someone to actually fill out the form. So I can go here, back to my type form, and then I can go to the link and I can start filling it out. Michele Torti, and then I can do john@gmail.com and 201-555-0123 and press submit. So cool, it's finished. If I go here, we can see that now, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it said node executed successfully, which means that the step was actually successful. And you can see we have the output, which is first name, last name, email, and phone number. So if you got this far, amazing. If yours is not working, then I would check your connection again. I would check your form, and well, it really should be working because it was only a few steps. So it's pretty simple. All right, guys. So now that we're done with step one, we can 2 fingers, press on this, rename this lead form, and then this auto saves. So you're good. The next step now is actually making the call. But in my head, whenever someone fills out a form and they get a call instantly, it's a bit weird, right? As in, we want to also emulate human behavior, which means that a human simply will not be there like 24/7 every single second to call the lead, which is why we want to give it some leeway, some time between when the lead fills out the form and when you can call them. And that's where we can press plus to add the next step of the automation. You can press, you can look for wait, and this wait node says, okay, whenever we get the details here, we can just simply wait this amount of time before we go to the next step. And so here is where we can have a delay of 2 minutes from the time that we receive the details to the time where we call the lead to make it more human, right? Now, in this case, I'm going to use 5 seconds, but if you want to do 2 minutes, you can do, well, you can actually just do 120 seconds, or you can do minutes and you can do 2. I actually don't know the max, but you can do also days. Like after 365 days, you can just run the automation, right? In case you want to let someone know a year from now, which is a bit weird. But I want to do 5 seconds, keep it simple. That's it, after time interval. That's fine. You can also do other things as well. All right, now I'm going to press on this. I'm going to press P on my keyboard, or you can just go in here and press pin. What this does is I don't have to resubmit the form on the type form to then trigger the automation. I can just press execute the workflow. We already have the data and I want to test if this works, right? Of course, I knew it was, but always want to double check everything. Cool. This is good. It's all green. Now we can go to the third step, which is actually using Retail AI to send the request to say, hey, we received this form details. Can you call this lead and can you do everything you want to do, book the appointment? And then we actually go to the Google Sheet and add the details there, right? To the CRM. All right. So if we go here to plus and we look for Retail AI, there is nothing here. But when I look for Typeform here, there is Typeform, right? So why is it that some softwares are here versus some softwares that aren't, right? It's because Anyten doesn't have all the different softwares, but there is a workaround for this. And that's going to be using something called API documentation. So if you guys saw the foundation module that I made, I spoke about the API documentation, right? Which is a documentation that tells you exactly how and what you can automate within a software and how to set it up, right? The way for us to actually use Retail AI in the actual automation is by going to Plus and using something that we call an HTTP request, right? Don't worry about this for now, but just understand that this right here is going to be the node, the step in the automation that we use to say, hey, let's send a request to a server. In this case, the server is Retail AI, saying, here's my authorization token. Here's my password. Here's the details of the lead. And here's the number that you have to call. Can you just do it, right? Instead, of course, of having the Retail AI node, because we just simply don't have it, right? But if you go to Google Sheet, for example, we do have Google Sheets, right? So if you find that the software is not here, then you have to go and set it up manually, which is actually super easy. Once you do it once or twice, it's just practice, and it's pretty straightforward. With that said, if I go inside here, we basically have to make this step so that it calls the lead, right? It uses the agent inside Retail AI. So we see different options here. We see the method, again, it will get, post, put, patch, delete, like I mentioned before, the URL, authentication, headers, body, and then JSON, right? So there's actually a way where we can have N10 do it for us. Let me show you. So I can go to Google and search up Retail AI, API documentation, make a call. If you scroll down, you can see that we have the create phone call, Retail AI. If I press on this, we get to the one and only API documentation. So this is where we will actually put this to practice, because you'll see that we'll use this. On the left-hand side, you can see all the different actions: create a phone call, get calls, update a call, create chat, delete a chat, list chats, and so on. In this case, we really care about creating a phone call. It's a post request because we send the information, we send it, we actually make a call. This right here is the URL that we have to copy. This right here is the actual endpoint that we're calling to the server, saying, hey server, here's exactly what we want to do. And here's a few things that we have to add. The first thing is the API key from Retail AI. Then we have the from number, to number, the agent ID. And then we also have to give it some examples of data. So lead name, it will be lead name, John Doe, right? So with that said, here's basically a description of how to set it up. And on the right-hand side, we want to go to curl. So if you're on JavaScript, just change this to curl. And you can copy this curl. And what this is like a bunch of code that allows the server, allows the N10 or the HTTP request to understand what it is that we're looking to do, and allows us to send a server request, right? So copy this, go back to N10, and then you can go inside here and you want to press import curl, and you want to paste this here and press import. You see now everything's pretty much filled out, but there are a few things that we want to change. So the method, post, that's fine. URL, this is fine. We want to get the token from Retail AI. So you can just go to Retail AI here. You want to go to, I believe, settings, API keys on the left, add a key, API key, speed to lead, save, and you want to copy this. Go back to N10 and you can paste this here. Okay, so bearer, space, the key. And the reason we do this is because then N10 is able to actually go inside our account, and it's only able to do that if we give it the password, right? So that's fine. And now we have to delete a bunch of stuff here. So put expression, go full screen, and now we can delete a bunch of stuff here because we don't actually need most of this. Everything from here, so retail LLM dynamic variables is something that we do need. So everything from here all the way up to here, we can delete. And then everything from customer name, in this case, it will be lead name. We can delete this as well. So yours should look like this, okay? From number, to number, override agent ID, and retail LLM dynamic variables. Because first thing is the from number. So this is the number of the agent that we bought. To number, this is the number of the person that we have to call. Override agent ID is the ID of the agent that we have to use inside of retail. And then retail LLM dynamic variables is the name of the person. So the first thing is me going to Retail AI, going to phone number, going here, and then copying this right here. All this is just this number, but without the parentheses or without the spaces and all that stuff. So copy this, we'll go back to N10, and then we can paste this here. The to number, you can delete this, and then we can take this variable right here, and drag it all the way inside here. Again, make sure it's actually in between the brackets or the colons. And the agent ID is something that we can get from going to agents. You can press on ID here, and you can copy this, bring it back, and then paste it here. So agent underscores this. And then lead name will be first name, space, last name. Okay, as you can see now, this is the thing that the actual agent gets, Michele Tordi, with a number, agent ID, and from number. From number and agent number should always be fixed. It shouldn't change because you always need to call from the same number and you always need to use the same agent. Only these variables change, the number that we're calling and the person that we're calling. With that said, let me fill out the form with an actual number that, agent can call, and we can start. So execute workflow. Now we can go into Typeform. We can copy this and paste it. I can go here and put John Torti, because why not? We can do my email, and then the number I can put my numbers. All right, cool. First name, last name, email, and phone number. We can press submit. And now instead of N10, as you can see, this triggered with these details. It waits 5 seconds, and then it should use Retail AI to make a phone call. And it succeeded, so it should call me. As you can see here, I have the phone call from Retail AI. I can answer it.
Talking to John Torty.
Yes, you are.
Thanks, John. You recently requested some info about solar through Facebook. Is now a good time to chat for a couple of minutes?
Yes, sure.
Great, thanks. Are you the homeowner at your property?
I am the homeowner, yeah.
Thanks for confirming that. What's your average monthly electric bill?
It's 20,000.
Wow, that's a pretty high bill. What got you interested in looking into solar?
Just my wife, you know, she's all about that renewable energy stuff.
Got it. Sounds like your wife's really into the idea of going green. Are you both looking to make the switch to solar soon, or just exploring options right now?
Yeah, like ASAP, like next week.
Thanks for letting me know you're looking to move quickly. Before we check availability, can I confirm your full name and the best email address to use for the appointment?
Yeah, my full name is John Torty. And my email is michele@jmsolutions.com.
Thanks, John. Just to confirm, your full name is John Orte, and your email is michele@jmsolutions.com, correct?
John Torty, not Orte.
Thanks for clarifying. So your full name is John Torky, and your email is michele@jmsolutions.com, right? If that's correct, I'll check our availability for a consultation next week.
Yeah, correct.
I'll check our schedule for next week and let you know what times are available for your solar consultation. Here are some available times for next week. Monday through Thursday, 9 to 11:30 a.m. or 3 to 5 p.m. And Friday, 9 to 11:30 a.m. Is there a day and time that works best for you?
Can we do Thursday at like 4 p.m.?
I'll book you in for Thursday at 4 p.m. for your solar consultation. You're all set for Thursday at 4 p.m. The solar specialist will learn about your energy usage, discuss your goals, review your property, and answer any questions. The consultation takes about 30 to 45 minutes, and there's no obligation. Thanks for your time, John. Have a great day.
There you go. That was pretty quick build and a very good outcome. As you can see on the screen, it booked the appointment here. Solar consultation between Michele Torty and John Twerke. I don't know about that, but that obviously can be changed. Just because Torty is obviously a weird name. It's not English name. So we have additional notes. So requested ASAP appointment, high electric bill, interested in solar due to spouse interest in renewable energy. Because my wife is all about that, you know? All right, perfect. So the last step is actually adding the details of the lead to a Google Sheet. So the CRM, right, of the person. So let's make a Google Sheet here, Sheets.new, and we can name this Solar Inquiries. We can just put full name, phone number, actually no, first name. We can do last name. We can do email. We can do phone number. I can just go here. I can freeze up to row 1, zoom in a bit more, and then I feel like that should be it, right? So let me go here, let me press P, let me pin this as well, let me pin this as well, it doesn't call me again. And then now, the last step, we can go to Sheets, we can append a row in a sheet, we can connect our account by going here, you can press sign in with Google, and it'll take you through the whole kind of authorization, very simple. Once you connect your account, you can go to Sheet within document, append a row, which means add a row. And then here we can go to Solar Inquiries, choose Sheet 1. And then we can go to lead form because those are the details that we need. And we can match these out. So first name, last name, email, and phone number. There we go. The thing I like about N10 is that you can see the actual like data point. So you can see whether it's wrong or not, right? For example, if I added phone number here, I can see, oh, this is wrong because it shouldn't be a number, it should be email, right? So we can just change this to email. Perfect. All right, now we can test it. So it would just speed run all of these because it wouldn't call me as well because it's pinned. And it should just go to the last step. If I go here, I can see that we have John Torty, Gem Solutions, and phone number as well. And the reason why it doesn't do +1 is because of Google Sheets. So there's a plus, but Google Sheets take that as it takes it as a mathematical equation, right? What I would also do here is turn this to white and make this like this. The phone number. Cool. So there we have the full agent. We have the automation inside of N10, that at the end of the day, you'll just unpin all of these. You would refresh. This is the full automation. What you would do is you would simply just publish, and now the automation is live, and it's going to be listening for events from Typeform. We can go to executions, and this is where you'll see the different executions, the different times where the automation ran, right? So for this one, for example, you can see that everything ran successfully and so on. If this is red, that means something went wrong, and you can go inside the actual execution to see what went wrong, and you can fix it. Instead of retail AI, this agent is fine. It's already published, so you're good to go. As in any single time now someone submits that form, it calls the person. But if I go to call history, here I can see that we have the outbound agent. And we can see the status, right? So you can see whether it did well or whether it didn't do well. Perfect. And inside here, I can then see the recording. I can see the whole transcript. This is amazing because this is exactly how you would listen back to the calls that you do for your clients and optimize the agent over time. All right, so congrats on finishing the build 3, which was a speed to lead agent. I'm gonna leave again all the prompts and resources in the link down below in my school community. You can check them out and you can pretty much use them to copy paste it into your own agent. All right, now that we're done with build number 3, we can go to build number 4, which is an AI executive assistant. All right, so the way that this system is going to work is that we're going to have you speaking to the actual executive assistant through Telegram. And by the way, Telegram is just a messaging software, sort of like WhatsApp, Gmail. They're all places where you can text something, you can contact someone. And then when we either do a voice message or a text message, it goes directly to the N10 AI agent, which I call the main agent. So whether it's a a calendar event, whether it's something to do with contacts, or whether it's something to do with emails, it will route the message to the appropriate sub-agent, which we call in this case, and then the sub-agent will take action on what we want to do. Okay, so it might sound a bit complex, and once you see the system, you might even get scared, but it's actually very simple when you break it down step by step, and we're gonna build it from scratch, so don't worry. So again, you text N10 AI agent, it then sends it to each appropriate sub-agent, and then it takes action on whatever it is that we want to do when it comes to either emails, contacts, or calendar. Okay. With that said, let's get into the demo first. All right, so here we have my Telegram agent on the left. We have the input and we have the output. In between the input and the output, as you can see, there's many different steps, which we're also going to go through. It might seem a bit complex because there's many different circles and squares and all that stuff, but it's super, super easy once you break it down. So Telegram agent, let's do a voice message and let's say, hello, I want to schedule a calendar event with Michael James for tomorrow at 4 p.m. Michael James. And the calendar event has to be called boardroom meeting, and also send them an email letting them know that we have a meeting tomorrow 4 p.m. So super, super easy. Just go ahead and do it. As you can see, the actual Telegram started. It spoke to the first agent, which will contact the main agent, and then it will use the email and calendar event as well to take action on email, to take action on calendar. Now I get a text message saying that I have sent an email to Michael James. I also create a calendar event. Okay, so let's see. All right, so it just said that it finished everything. So if I go to my calendar, I can see that tomorrow, Monday 29th, boardroom meeting, we have it down for 6 and 7 p.m. Perfect. If I go to my email here, I can see that we have a message. It says, Dear Michael James, this is a reminder that we have a meeting scheduled for tomorrow at 4 p.m. Best regards, your name. So this right here needs to be changed. So great that we had an error because now we know what to fix. That's it. So you basically have the ability to talk to the agent itself from Telegram, and we can take a lot of different actions, as you can see here, on email, calendar, contacts. You can even do research. You can even create content, all that stuff. And it's all by using your phone on Telegram. So with that said, let's start fresh and let's build this from scratch. All right, so we go back here, same exact thing as we did before. I'm going to paste this here, which kind of walks you through the AI agent fundamentals, because with N10, they do have a very specific way of building AI agents and the way they look, but it all follows the same exact structure that we spoke about before. So we have the input and we have the output. The input is what I tell the agent that I want. The output is what the agent tells me that it did. In between the input and the output, we have an AI agent, which has the instructions, again, the prompt that we tell it. The AI agent uses a brain. In this case, it will be OpenAI, Claude, whatever it is. It will have a memory to remember the conversation that we're talking to. And then using tools, calendar, Gmail, contacts, Google Sheets, Perplexity, whatever it is, it will take action on the things that we want it to do. And we do this by sending a request and getting a response. Request, response, request, response, right? And so what you saw recently of me doing a calendar event, me sending an email, me getting contacts, they were a series of requests and response. And as you saw, I just gave it a vague kind of prompt, and using the AI agent, it thought about what to do, and it called the appropriate tool to be able to then go ahead and do the actual work. All right, so looking at this from a end-to-end point of view, the thing that I showed you before is kind of a representation. What it looks like on the actual end-to-end is we have different triggers, which is Telegram, chat, Gmail, which are basically the way that data comes into the system, to the AI agent. Again, in this case that I showed you will be Telegram, right? Then we have the AI agent, which is something that has a prompt, right? And it has a way for us to get the input. And again, I'll walk you through how to build that. And then we have the LLM, we can choose here, memory, and then we have the different tools, which in this case can be Gmail and calendar event. Now, for the sake of this video, I am not gonna build a simple agent like this. We're gonna take it one step further and build what I call a multi-agent system. And I'm gonna go through the multi-agent system because not only do you learn the fundamentals of how AI agents work inside of N10, but you learn how AI agents can offload tasks to other sub-agents, and then the sub-agents can then talk to the tools. And this is where we get to the multi-step AI agent, where we still have the input, we still have the output, we still have the brain and the memory, we still have the instructions, everything is the same. The only difference is that instead of the AI agent talking to Gmail calendar directly, what it does is that it talks to the agents first, and then the agents talk to their tools. Now, the best way for me to describe this, it's sort of like a company, right? A company has a CEO. The CEO doesn't talk to the VAs, doesn't talk to the marketing executive and so on, right? The CEO talks to the head of marketing, it talks to the head of sales, it talks to the head of operations and the head of finance, right? And so this is a CEO. These are the head of calendar, head of email, head of blog agent, head of contact agent, right? And so then the head of departments talk to their employees, and the tools are the employees of the department itself. If I say, hey, I want to schedule a calendar event, it goes to the AI agent. It then goes to the calendar agent. Say, hey, head of calendar, we want to schedule a calendar event. The head of calendar says, okay, what tool, what employee do I have to give this task to? It says, okay, the employee to make a calendar event is the one that I have to give the task to. We give a request saying, hey man, we want to create a calendar event. And then the response it will tell me is, okay, it's all done. So we review it, it's all good. We then give a response to the CEO saying, hey, my employee did it, it's all good. Send it back to the user. And the output will be, hey, we just finished making the calendar event, right? And so take that principle for all the different head of departments, head of email, head of blogs, head of content, head of everything. And also one more reason to why we do this is not because we want to overcomplicate the system, right? It's because the prompt itself can be crazy long. And if the AI agent has access to like a million different tools, same with the CEO, there's a good chance that the CEO will mess up which employee needs to talk to, because there's so much context, there's so much information that it has, and it will not be accurate and consistent, most importantly, in the task that it will do, okay? And so this diagram translates into what you just saw, which is this right here, which is an AI agent that has the input, AI agent, memory and brain, output, and then the different main agent, and then it has the different head of departments, and then it has the different tools. So with that said, let's build it from scratch and get this going. All right, so first thing is to add the input. The input is where the information is coming from. Now we can press first step, we can look for Telegram, and we can do, okay, on message, there we go. So on message, and we have this here. So inside of N10, what you see here, which is the left, middle, and right. On the left, we get the input. In the middle, we set up the credentials, we set up the different settings, and the output is the output that the node, the specific step in the automation will give us, okay? So first things first, we can go here to Telegram, we can create a new credential, and then we need to get the access token. So if I go to N10 AI, I can ask it, how do I get the access token? And there's a specific process to go through, which is talking to something we call a bot father. So open Telegram and search for bot father. Start with the chat with bot father and send the command new bot. Okay, so inside of Telegram, you can search up bot father. There we go. Press open and you get access to this. You can press create a new bot. Name this, I don't know, AI executive assistant. Create the bot. Okay, we have to put a username, executive AI assistant. Michele. Bot. All right, cool. And now we have this key. This key is the API token. We can just copy this. We can bring it back. We can go here, new credential. I can paste it. And then I can say Michele connection. And then today's date is the 28th of June. There we go. I can press save. Now, the reason why I usually have my naming conventions is because each connection can't really see exactly whatever it is. So I want to make sure that I have the exact, the exact one with the date that I can use. Then the next thing is going to be trigger on message. So every single time that I get a message, trigger means starts, it sends the information. And that's it. I believe we don't need anything else. We can just press execute step. So again, we just made the first step, right? Execute step, which starts the actual, basically testing the step of the automation. And now I can go here, message, and I can start. So it just sends /start, so we should get the trigger. As you can see here, we have a bunch of different, we call them data points or variables that we get. We have the message ID, from, first name, chat ID, first name, date, text. The text was /start because that was the message that we have here, right? /start. So we also have a bunch of things here that we don't really care about, which is fine. But yeah, that's it. So the first step again is getting the message. Now there is one issue or one problem or one thing that I want to add, right? Which is the fact that sometimes we want to send voice messages, right? And so text and voice are basically two different methods of communication. A text to an AI agent and a voice message in an AI agent is two different things, because a voice has one additional step of using AI to extract the text from the voice message. Okay, so what we do here is, if I go inside, you can see that, where is it? It should say text somewhere. There you go. So text. If I know that this variable exists, it means that we send a text message. But right now, for example, if I go to execute step, and I go back here, hello, welcome. I go here, you can see that now we have voice. We don't have text anymore, right? And so we basically have to set up what I call conditional logic routing, where we say, hey, send it this way if it's voice, send it that way if it's text, okay? So I'm gonna go here, we can go plus, we can look for data transformation, or actually no, flow, and we can look for if. So if this is here, then send it this way. If not, then the other way. So if the voice here exists, so string exists, wrong type object, okay. So if a variable inside here, so let's say if a variable, which in this case, it can be any of these, right? I'm basically saying if this exists, which it wouldn't for the actual text, then we can do it. So if this exists, then it's true. If not, that is false. Okay, so I'm gonna go here and press P to pin the data, so I don't have to redo it again. And I can execute the workflow, and now it will go to true because this variable exists. Okay, mine type, I don't know how to say it, it exists. Now, if I unpin this and I press execute workflow and I go back to Telegram and I just say hello, it should go down to false because it's text, right? And so very, very good for us because now we can route the information directly. Let me execute workflow and I can go back and I can say hello. All right, there we go, true. So we can go back here, we can look for the Telegram node once again, which is get a file. And now we can go down to file ID and we can drag this across. We can download, leave everything normal. It's file, get the file ID. Because now when we get the file, we can give it to, let's say ChatGPT or OpenAI to take the text from that file, which is an audio file, and essentially give us the text. So I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna use ChatGPT or OpenAI here. And I'm going to transcribe a recording. So now the first thing you want to do is you want to go and get your API key from OpenAI. So if you go here to create a new credential, you need to get an API key. So we can do this by going to platform.openai.com, sign into your account, and then you want to go to API keys on the left. You want to create a key here, name this AI assistant, and then leave everything the same. So all permissions, you, and then you can copy the API key that you have here and paste it here. And again, I'll do Michele, connection, 28th of June, save. All right, so we have audio, transcriber recording, we have data, and we can leave this as is, that's fine. So don't worry about anything else. You can put data because that is gonna be the data point that we're gonna get. So now let me pin this and let me execute the workflow. And now it should download this. You can see that this is data. If I press view, I can see, hello. I can hear the voice message. And if I go here, it should take the data, right? And then now we can see that the text is hello. Okay, so this is the process of transcribing an audio file into text, okay? And by the way, this is what we call data transformation. Getting data and then, we call it parsing it, changing it in a way where we want it to, or getting the data in different formats and then sending it different ways, depending on the format. And finally, bring it all back together. So now what we can do is, I believe there's one more step that we have to do here, but I wanna wait until then. I'm gonna make a sticky note first and call this color is horrendous. Let me do, it's even worse now. Let me do blue. Even worse now. Okay, we can leave this as brown and take this up. But I do this because then you guys can visually see where everything is going. So now we can go to the AI agent step. So this is the input, we get the message. So 2 fingers, you can press on this, rename, get message. And now we can press plus, we can look for AI, and then we can look for AI agent. So generates an action plan and execute it, can use external tools. Perfect. So let's go off for a second. And this is what the AI agent will look like, okay? So I'm gonna connect this as well to this because again, either way, either text or voice, it needs to go to the AI agent. And now this is where we get to building the actual agent, okay? So the agent has a prompt inside that we have to build, a chat model, which is the brain, the LLM, a memory tool that we're gonna set up, and then tools, which are gonna be, first of all, sub-agents, and then the sub-agents will have their own tools, okay? So the first thing I'm gonna do is I wanna go inside and make sure that it knows that the input that it receives is the one from this. So if I go here, I can change this from connected chat to your node. I can replace this with define below. And the prompt, which is a user message, again, what we tell the AI agent that we wanna do, will be text. I wanna get my contacts. Let's set up the AI agent first, and then we can see if there is an issue to solve. But okay, so this is the user message, which is the thing that we tell it to do, sort of like the prompt. You know, when you guys go to ChatGPT and you say, I want you to make me an email, whatever, that's a user message, okay? Now there is another prompt because user prompt is what I tell it to do. And then we have instructions. So the rules and, you know, identity of what the agent needs to do, right? So we can go here to add option and we can look for system message. Don't worry about any of these. We really don't need them. The most important one is this. So the system message is essentially a prompt that gives AI the ability to understand what its role and identity is and what actions it needs to take, right? So I'm gonna paste the prompt that I have here that I already made, and we can go through it. So first things first, you can see that we have markdown formatting, markdown, 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 right? In a way that, you know, AI knows the hierarchy of what matters. And the first thing is the overview. So we tell it that it's an ultimate personal assistant. The job is to send the user query to the correct tool. That's the main rule, right? As a CEO, your job is not to send the emails. It's to send the task to the correct head of department, and the head of department can then worry about the actual thing itself. So then we have tools. Now the tools is essentially the thing that the main agent or this agent has access to, that it can send the information for the action to be taken. So we have contact agent, we have email agent, and I believe we have calendar agent. There we go. So contact agent uses tool to take contact actions. You must use this before sending emails or creating calendar events within attendees. So essentially we're gonna feed, you know, this agent with our list of contacts that we have. Sort of like a CRM, but it's gonna be on Google Sheets, right? The issue is that if we tell AI agent that we want to, you know, schedule a calendar event or send an email to someone, it first needs to know who that person is, and then it can do the action, right? Hence why we tell it that you must use this always before sending emails or doing calendar events. The email agent, you know, uses tool to take action in email. Calendar agent uses tool to take action in calendar. You must use the contact agent before using the calendar agent and make sure you pass through the email of the contact to the calendar agent. And so these rules are extremely important because they allow the AI to have those guardrails, right? Then we have more rules. So some actions require you to look up contact information first. For the following actions, you must get contact information and send that to the agent who needs it. Sending emails, drafting emails, creating calendar event with attendee. Instruction, call the necessary tool based on the user's request. Use the think tool to verify you took the right steps. This tool should be called every time. Final reminder, here is the current date and time. And then we give it this. Now, this right here is just a variable, like super easy. First of all, the reason why we tell the AI what date and time it is because it is not the best, right? So to do this, we can do curly bracket, we do now, and you can pretty much leave it at that. The one we had before, which is this, it's just for the format, right? But we don't really, like the AI doesn't really need the format. It just needs the date of today. If you want to format it right, in case you're interested, you can do dot. So again, we have bracket, and inside here is the actual thing. And you can see the output that we have here. Dot format, there we go. Converts the date time to string format. And then we have different options. So we can choose year, month. As you can see here, now it's 2026, 06/28. So this is fine, it's good enough. Either one is fine. You can also just leave it as now, as long as it knows what date and time it is today. it's going to be smart enough to convert the actual, the date format. So cool. This is the prompt that we're going to use, and that's how it's going to think, or basically the context it has behind every single thing that we do. So now that the agent knows exactly what it needs to do, the identity, the roles, the tools, we have to actually give it the things, right? So the first thing is the chat model, which is the brain. Now the brain, we can go here, press plus, and you have access to different LLMs, right? Now I like using OpenAI because it's pretty easy and also it's pretty good. So if you connected your OpenAI connection already, which you did before, you already have it here. We can go to 5.4 mini, there we go. Use responses API, that's fine. And we can leave this as this, okay? So now we can rename this brain. Again, you can do this, 2 fingers, press on this, and you can choose rename. Next thing is the memory. So we press here, you can do simple memory. You can also do some complex memory. I did make a video on all the different memory nodes and memory different things in my channel. You can just go on the channel and search up memory nodes and A10 Michele, and you'll find it. But we're going to use the simple memory here to keep it super simple. So the session ID is actually something that we need to change. So the reason that is because there's 2 different ways of like chatting to the agent. One, of course, is through Telegram, but we also have a native like node inside, native step inside of NA10, which is a chat trigger node, which is a node that we can obviously chat, but it's NA10 native, right? Meaning NA10 made it. So, and each session that you talk to the agent has a session ID, right? Now for Telegram, you can press define below. You can find it here. So get message, chat ID, there we go. You can drag it across and it'll be here. Just a number, right? And now it's gonna ask us how many past interactions does the model receive as context? So how many messages will it have as context that it's gonna remember before it gives us the answer, right? So if I say, hey, send an email to John, it sends an email to John. And then also I can say, schedule a calendar event with him, and it can do that because it remembers who John is, because it has memory, right? So I can leave this as 10 to keep it super simple. I think 5 is a bit too short. Now there's one more thing that I wanna add here, which is called the think step, right? The think step is something that we can pull here from tools. You can search up think tool. What it is this, right? Use a tool to think about something. It will not obtain new information or change the database, but just append the thought to the log. Use it when complex reasoning or some cache memory is needed. And the reason we do this is because when we have sub agents and we have, the main agent and different tools and calendar, email, all that jazz, it is important that it makes the right decision. Now, it is going to do a good job here with both of these, but it does even better if it has this second opinion, right? Sort of like a surgeon having a second opinion in whatever he does, right? This right here is a second opinion, and it is going to be a tool that we're going to use. All right, so now that we did this, we're going to put this to the side. And this might get a bit confusing in terms of how it looks, but trust me on this. You want to make sure that it's very organized because we're going to have a whole set of sub-agents here. So I want to do the output first, and then we can do the actual sub-agents. All right, so I just deleted the actual box itself because I thought it didn't make sense to have it there. But what have we done so far? We have made the input. So we get the message, whether it's in voice format, whether it's a text format, we transcribe the recording if it's a voice format. If it's text, it's text. Then we give it to the AI agent. We made the system prompt and we made the user prompt. Then we connected the chat model, which is the brain. Then we made the memory because now it remembers the conversation. And finally, we made a tool. No, we didn't make it, but we added a tool, which is called the think tool, which allows the agent to have a second opinion behind every single decision that it does, which is great, especially when you're building something a bit more complex, which we are. Not complex, but it requires different steps, right? Now we want to do the output. So I can go here, press plus, Telegram, and then send a message. There we go, send text message, credential message, send a message. We can do the chat ID, which we can get here. Get message, chat ID. Again, each conversation is a chat ID. Think of it as each time you have a conversation with your friend, that is a conversation ID. If it's a different conversation, it will be a different ID. That's important because that way it gives me back the messages in the same exact, conversation. It doesn't send it to another place. Let's run this first. Let me just put hello and let's run the agent. So I can go here. I can say send an email to Michael James. And now the AI agent will think there's a problem. We'll fix that problem. But as you can see, the data went through all the way here. So what was the problem? If I go here to simple memory, provide a key to use a session ID in the key parameter or use the connected chat trigger node option to use a session ID in your chat trigger. So let's try actually to use this. Although I'm not too sure if that will work. I'm kind of figuring it out as you guys. I typically use a session ID of the Telegram chat, not the one that I'm having with the agent, but let's try. I'm going to pin this. Just cheat code in case you don't want to do it all over again. I'm going to press execute workflow. And there we go, another problem. Expected to find a session ID in an input field called session ID. Okay, so it's not gonna do it. Key, get message. Yeah, I would assume it's this, chat ID. Because it's green. Let's try it again. Okay, now it works. Or it doesn't. Never mind. Let's go back. Okay, I think the issue might be that we cannot add a variable, but I'm gonna copy this and replace it with this. Because the chat ID is always gonna be this, right? It's always gonna be the same kind of conversation with the agent. So let's try again. And let's see if it works. Okay, there we go. Now it works. Cool. Now we have this here. Memory is fine. We can connect this to the agent. I assume that I'll also have to change this to the number. And again, the number, it will be different for you guys than it is for me because my conversation ID or my chat ID is different, right? You can get it here. Chat ID. Just copy this and you can paste it here. Now for the text, I can go to the AI agent and I can get the output, right? JSON.output. And you can see a pattern here. Every single variable that we have, when I drag this across, it's all code, right? We don't really have to care that it's code. And so if you're looking at this and you don't really know exactly what is going on, then just know that this is a dynamic variable, right? It's the variable that changes every time. And so this is the output that we get here, output. And here, it'll look like this. So we send the data to one step to another. All right, so with that said, let's go execute the workflow. Memory's fine. And if I go here, I still need the email message to send. Please send the body of the email and if relevant, which James Michael you mean. Now we also get this right here. This message was sent automatically with N10. I don't want this. So to delete this, we can go to add field. We can go to append N10 attribution. We can turn this off. And if I execute step, I get the same message without this. So quick one here. All right, now that we're done with the boring stuff, let's make the agent. If I go inside, we mentioned that we would have the contact agent, which is one, email agent, and calendar agent. So let me just copy these. So I'm gonna go here, outside, I'm gonna press add to tools, and then I'm gonna do sub or agent. There we go. So first agent, second agent, and third agent. This looks sick. It's awesome. Okay, 3 agents. So we have to make sure that the names of the agent are the exact same as the names that I put in the prompt of the main agent, right? So the first one was contact agent, email agent, and calendar agent. Let me actually put this. Let me make sure that this right here is like this. C small and then A big. E small and then A big. There we go. Perfect. Personally, that's what I like to do. You don't have to do it that way, but you can if you want to be like me. Okay, calendar agent. Contacts. First we do contacts agent. Then we do email agent. And then we do calendar agent. There we go. So now we have to do the exact same thing that we did here. We do here. We have to make sure that we set this up with a model, a memory, and tools. There is a quick hack, okay? The hack is that instead of going here and, choosing OpenAI again and choosing the model and whatever, and then having it here and doing that for each one, we can actually connect the chat model to the one that we always had, like this. There we go. Now this right here, you can do it. Even if you don't do it, it doesn't really make much of a difference. Just for speed's sake, I know in terms of visuals, it's looking like the Matrix are here with all these different lines and stuff. So if it looks a bit confusing to you, then you can just like take these out, and can have your own chat models here. I would just copy this and paste it, right? I personally do this because it's easier for me, so it's all good. Now that we're done with the actual brain, we don't actually need the memory. So the memory is not something that we need because the memory is something that the main AI agent needs, but not the head of departments. The head of departments just have to execute on a task and that's it, right? So this right here, don't worry about it. Now we have to set up the tools, which is contacts, emails, and calendar. So the first thing we have to do now is set up the prompts for the different agents. So if I go inside here, I see that this is the exact same as the one that I had before. The only difference is that we have a description. So for the description, I'm gonna say this. Call this tool to take action within the contact database. And then the user message, I can press this button, which means that the model, the AI inside of N10 for the AI agent, is going to define that automatically. So the input is gonna come in, it's gonna be defined automatically. And now I can add an option to put a system message, and I can go here, go up, and I can paste this message right here. So super, super easy. Very similar to the one that we had before, but very much simpler. So we have overview. You are a contact manager. You have tools to take action within the contact database. The first tool you have access to is get contacts. The second one is going to be add or update a contact. Use this to get contact information like email, address, or phone number. Use this to add a new contact to the database or update an existing contact. Perfect. That's all we have to do for the prompt. And now we can start adding the tool itself. Now I made a database on Google Sheets, which looks like this. You can pretty much make the same one, it doesn't matter. But this is gonna be the contact database that we're gonna have. Now, typically a company wouldn't really have Google Sheets. They would have an actual CRM like HubSpot, you know, so you can use that. But in this case, I'm gonna keep it simple and use this. So once we have that, I can go plus the tools, I can go to Sheets, Google Sheet tool, and I can make sure that this right here is my connection, which I can do by going here, sign in with Google, and then choose your account. Once you've connected to your account, set automatically, sheet within a document, you can get rows because this is the first action to get contacts. The list will be contact database USB because that is the name of my Google Sheet. The sheet name is going to be sheet 1, and that's it, I believe. There you go. And now I have to name this the name of the actual tool that I told it. So get contact, add or update a contact. There we go. So get contact. Okay. I'm assuming you're starting to get the gist of the whole process, right? You have here agent, sub agent, and then the agent has tools, and then we pretty much do the same thing for all these, right? So that's the first tool. There's nothing else you have to do apart from choosing the sheet. It will do everything automatically, so don't worry. The next thing is we have to make the add or update a contact. So I can go here, plus sheet, Google Sheet, same connection, everything is the same, apart from this, append or update a row. Choose a document, which is the one that we had before. Sheet is gonna be sheet 1. Column name to match on would be name. And then here, so this is saying that if we have to update a row, we have to know what row it is, right? So what variable, what thing do we match the contact with? We can match it with this, and then we can update whatever, right? So I can go here, match with name. And then in case we have to append, which means add a row, add a contact, we can let AI, you know, kind of define the name, and we can say description, this is the name of the person. We can do the same with email. I can say, this is the email of the person. Now, a lot of AI is used here because we want to make it as easy as possible. And so the AI is here. If we have to add a contact, because it's an agent and it's talking to us back and forth, it will know what name and email we need to send to the Google Sheet, right? Because it's going to ask us. So we're going to use the AI instead of N10. We're saying, hey, agent, figure it out. Like use AI, use your brain to think of what name and email we have to send through based on what the user is telling you in the conversation. And now I can do append or update contact. I believe that's it. Is that the name? Or add or update contact. There you go. Cool. So let's start. Let me actually test this so you guys can see what this looks like. Let me unpin this. Execute workflow. Let's say I ask it to give me the email for Michael James. Give me the email for Michael James. It will talk to the agent here. It will talk to this, bring it back, and then send it here. The email for Michael James is michele.torti system7.ai. As you can see, it's accurate. So very, very good stuff. God, this looks so complex with all these. This looks crazy, but you can see it's much easier than it looks, right? So it's fine. All right, that's it for the contacts agent. Now we can go to the email agent and the calendar agent. So pretty much the same exact process. We have to go here inside. We have to put the description. So call this tool to take action email. The prompt, use a message. We can press this button, which means that we're letting the model define this, by AI. And then we have to make a system message. I can go here, expression. The reason why I'm doing expression is because I can't go full screen and I can paste the prompt right here. So you are an email assistant. You have the tools to take action in email. The first tool is send an email. Second tool is get emails. Then is email reply. There you go. Create a draft, get labels, label emails, and so on. There's a lot of tools, but it's super, super easy to set up because it's just repetitive. You just have to, repeat the whole process with each single tool. So I can go out, and also we're telling it the date and time, because when we're sending emails and we're saying, hey, send an email to John saying that we have a meeting tomorrow, it needs to know what today is for tomorrow. Cool, nothing else here. I can go tool, I can look for Gmail. Make sure it's not human in the loop. That's a different thing. We can do Gmail tool. Make sure it's a Gmail tool. And make sure to connect your email by going here, sign in with Google, and then you'll press your account and log in. Once you have your email set up, you can go to set automatically, message. In this case, this first action will be send email. We're gonna press AI, because we want AI to define the actual variable here. And we can say, this is the email address of the person we want to send the email to. I don't need the description for the subject line because it knows exactly what to do. And message, it will be the body of the email. So AI can decide this. That's the first one. So we can name this send message. Then we can copy paste. One here, here, and here. Because now I can go into each one and just change the action, right? So instead of message send, we have to get emails. So message, and we can get many, basically get all the emails. I can press this, let AI do it. We can turn this off because we want all the information from the email. If you use simplify, it will just give you like a very, very few data points from the email. And sometimes we want more stuff. We don't want to be restricted in what we get from the emails, hence why it's off. That's it. So get emails, get email. The next one is going to be email reply. So if I go here, I can go to message, reply, message ID, I can use AI, and then message, I can use AI as well. There we go. Perfect. And I can name this reply email or email reply. Actually, no, reply email. I mean, we do have to make sure that the names are same here, right? Send email. Then we have the last three, which are, the first one is going to be create draft. Then we have get labels, and we have label email. So create a draft, very straightforward. It's just creating a draft for email. But for label emails, to be able to label an email, we have to get the labels first and then get the ID of the label and then label it, okay? Hence why we have two different steps. So before it uses this, it always uses this. Create a draft, message. Is it message or draft? Draft, there you go. Create a draft. AI defines this, AI defines this. It's all good. Just make sure this is HTML because we already told the agent here that it needs to make the emails in HTML, which is a very, very specific type of way of writing things for AI. Get labels. We have label, get many, return all. We just put AI. Basically, we're letting AI decide everything. Connect this here, connect this here, connect this here, and then finally label emails. We can do message, and we can do add a label, message ID here, and this will be here. And here I can put, this is the label name or ID. Cool. All right, and now I can connect this to this. So we have just finished the email agent. So let's try this out. Execute workflow. I can say, send an email to Michael James saying that we have dinner tomorrow. Send an email to Michael James saying that we have a meeting tomorrow at 5 p.m. There we go. Transcribing. There is a problem. Let's see what the problem is. The problem is that the text message is not, it didn't come through. But if I go here, it should come through. Okay, I think I know why. That was the thing that I mentioned that we might be missing. But a very easy step here is I can just, new line here, and then I can just send the text here. Execute step. Let's see if it works. There we go. Email agent, send an email. We have a meeting tomorrow at 5 p.m. Best your name. Okay, so we had this problem. So let's fix this problem first. And then let's also take out this email was sent automatically with any intent. One quick one. The thing I just did here is that like when we get the text message from Telegram directly, and when we transcribe the voice message, as you can see, there are two different types of variables. One has dot message and one doesn't have dot message. So I'm gonna add both variables in case, the voice message comes, it takes the voice message. The text message comes, it takes the text message. It's just pretty easy. So we have to tell the agent that it needs to use our name. Please replace or use the name Michele Torti instead of your name at the end of the email. Always. I don't know why I always use please, as if an AI agent is gonna get mad at me. And then I'm also gonna add an option. I want to remove this, right? It's called an end-to-end attribution. I believe I can do it here. Can I do it? No, we can't. So I don't think we can actually. Add an option. Oh, we can. Okay, there we go. Append end-to-end attribution. Turn this off. And reply email as well. Turn this off. And then create a draft. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be there in the first place. So it's fine. Cool. Amazing. So we just finished with the email agent. Now let's go to the calendar agent. So let's go inside and let's go to the actual description. So call this tool to take action in the calendar. Then the prompt will be, AI. And then we can make the system message, which really simple. You can go here, full screen. Basically the same thing as the Gmail agent. We say you are a calendar assistant. You have tools to take action in the calendar. Create event with attendee, get events, delete events, update events. Perfect. Memory, we don't need. We can go to calendar, Google Calendar tool. I'm just going to copy paste. I believe it's 5 tools. I think so. So here, first thing we have to do is connect our Google Calendar. You can go here, sign in with Google. Same exact process as Gmail. The first one was create an event. So create event. You can change the name also here. Event create from my calendar list. So you can do my email. And then I can let AI define this and define this. Second one is create an event with attendee. So basically the same thing. Choose AI, same with this. But now we want to add an attendee because sometimes I want to create my own calendar event and sometimes I want to create an event inviting someone else. And here I can define this. This is the email of the person we are inviting for the event, or we are sending the calendar invite to. All right. So actually, let me just change this. Create an event with attendee. I don't know why I call it assignee. There we go. Next one here is get events. So create, instead of create, we do get many. Calendar, choose your calendar. Let the model define this, this, and this. Super easy. Get events. Then we have delete events and update events. I should copy this here. I can go here, events, delete, calendar, event ID, use AI, delete events. And again, the reason why we add names is because we told it, hey, use this tool when this happens. Use that tool. And so if this is delete events, but it's actually creating an event, it would call the wrong tool. And so each name corresponds to the agent itself. And here, finally, we have update events. So this will be update ID. There you go. Awesome. So I think we just finished. Yeah, let's connect all of these. I don't know why it keeps tripping. There we go. So as you can see, this is the original agent that we had, right? So now I can press execute workflow and I can say, send a calendar event to Michael James for tomorrow at 5 p.m. and call it boardroom meeting. So you can see here, it called the contact agent first, and then it called the calendar agent, and then it finished. So done, I created the event boardroom meeting, okay, for tomorrow at 5 p.m. and invited Michael James at Michele.Torti at system7.ai. Perfect, cool. If I go to my calendar, I should see that I have boardroom meeting here with the email itself. And by the way, as you can see, it called the create an event with attendee, right? Now let's say I want to update the event and I want to shift it for Tuesday at the same time. Can you shift the event so that it's the same time, but Wednesday? Actually, no, Friday. There we go. Now it will get the event. It says I can help with that, but I don't have the tool here to edit an existing calendar event. If you want to create a new event. Okay, so interesting. It says it doesn't have access to it, but it does. Maybe something within the prompt. To take action in calendar, you must use the take action calendar to update events. And what else is there? We have to update events and delete events. There we go. Now, if I execute workflow, if I give it the exact same message, it should send it to the calendar agent. There we go. It should get events first, and it should update the event. And now we should see the event on Friday. It says, I tried, but calendar tool didn't reply. It says it didn't work. Okay, I believe it didn't do it because I didn't specify what event. So this might be a fault here. I can just say, okay, I have an event tomorrow, which is called boardroom meeting. Can you update it so that it's on Friday and not tomorrow? Let me just execute the workflow. Okay, I can just press send. As you can see, it triggered the AI agent. Now it's going to use the calendar tool, calendar agent, to get the event and then update the event here. And then it's sending us back a message on Telegram. But if I go to my calendar event, I can see that if I refresh, it moved the event from Monday to Friday. All right, so that right there was a full AI executive build. As you see here, it is a bit more complex than the ones we built before. Maybe not super complex, but it requires different steps and more features and more stuff. Now, this is really, really powerful because it allows executive CEOs to be able to tap into their emails, tap into their calendar events, tap into their contacts as easy as just talking to Telegram, right? Sort of like your personal assistant, but in this case, it's an AI executive assistant, right? That basically does all the things for you. Now, obviously, Gmail, calendar, and contacts are the first use case, but we also have other things depending on the person. Maybe someone might want to take action in their own CRM. Maybe someone might want to create content and post content on LinkedIn or YouTube or Instagram, right? And so you can do that by adding more and more agents. Just make sure that if you add more and more agents, you obviously don't overload the prompt too much in the main agent, because then you can start to make mistakes in where things are at. All right, so congrats on finishing build 4, which was the AI executive assistant. Now we're gonna go to our last build, which is build 5, and that will be an AI sales lead research agent. All right, now the way that the Sales Lead Research Copilot works is that we have every new lead that gets researched and written before your rep calls them. So a lot of sales rep, people who call leads to sell them something, typically want to have as much information about the person before they call them. So then they have more context, so that you create more professionalism because you have more information about the buyer. The less information about the buyer, the more questions you have to ask on the call, and the less prepared you look on the call, for some offers, of course. So the way that it's going to work is that we're going to have a type form, which is going to be the same exact software that we used to build the form that we fill out, which in this case is where the person would fill out, let's say on the website or ads or even to book a call. Anything where the lead can fill out the details, and that can be name, LinkedIn profile, website, and email. Then we have Claude Code, which is going to be the software that we're going to use to build this agentic workflow. Okay, so this is different from the agents that we built before, and I'll explain why. But Claude Code is going to be where we're going to build the agentic workflow. And what it's going to do is that it's going to go to the LinkedIn profile, scrape the LinkedIn profile, like get all the information. It's going to go to the company website, take the company website, and then what it's going to do is that using AI, it's going to create a brief. And what a brief is a information about the person that we are getting information from their LinkedIn profile and website, that we can then put in a Google Sheet, which then the sales rep can use and can call the actual person itself. Okay, so type form, it's research, and then add to the CRM. In this case, it will be Google Sheet, just because we want to make it as easy as possible. So with that said, let's start with installing Claude Code. Now, in terms of pricing, we are actually going to be paying for Claude, and through Claude, we get Claude Code. It's sort of like a bonus. For example, you pay for Amazon Prime and you get Audible and you get all the other stuff that comes with it, right? And so in this case, we pay for Claude and we get Claude Code. For the free version, you can't access Claude Code. You either need the Pro version or the Max version. I use the Max because I use it quite a lot. But a Pro version is going to be more than fine for you starting out. In terms of hosting, which is where we're going to use Claude Code, we can either use it on VS Code, Cursor, Anti-Gravity, Terminal, and Claude itself. Now, this 3 is what we call IDEs, Integrated Development Environment, which is a place where, very fancy name, I know, but it's basically a place where you can install Claude Code and you host Claude Code there. You basically use it as an extension, and it's very, very easy to set up. The terminal is also a place where we can use Claude Code. I'm not going to talk about it in this video just because it is a bit more complex for beginners starting out. And then you can also use Claude, which is the simplest to look at. You can basically do less things than somewhere like these 3, okay? So in this case, you can use VS Code or Anti-Gravity, right? Pretty much the same thing. I personally like VS Code because it's super, super easy to install and you can get going really straight away. So the first step is going to code.visualstudio.com. You want to download from macOS. And once you download it, you will get on this page. It looks like this. You want to go down to the extensions, look for Claude Code. I already have it installed, as you can see here, but you want to look for Claude Code. Make sure it's the Anthropic one, okay? And then you can press install here. So if I uninstall and install again, you'll see here. And once you install it, it will take a few seconds and you should see a little logo from Claude. You can open this up and now it should ask you to log into Claude and subscribe to Claude to be able to use Claude Code. Okay, so that's how it works. I recommend just getting a cloud subscription. Again, the pro plan is fine to start. But yeah, you can do that. All right, now that we have this here, we have the interface of Claude Code, which is where we can talk to Claude Code saying hello. And now I should reply with hello. So the way that Claude Code works is that we're going to be building what I call the agentic workflow. So the reason why it's different from all the other builds that we've done is that here, we're not going to drag and drop. We're not going to add prompts. We're not going to do all these things. I'm just going to have a conversation, right? And the Claude is going to do everything else for me. It's going to deploy for me. It's going to build it for me. It's going to tap into the softwares for me. All I have to do is give it all the access and give it the actual rules and things that I want it to do. And then it does it. Okay, so this is the ultimate level of building agents. It's you having a conversation with AI to build the agent. Okay, and it uses code to like build all that stuff. Now, the first thing we have to do is we have to go and open a folder because Claude Code ain't making the agentic workflow. It's going to make different files. So files is like, different Python files, different code files that are all things that it needs to make to be able to make the agent. And so the first step is going here, open folder. I'm going to add one to desktop, new folder, and you can name this Sales Copilot and press create and press open. Yes, I trust the authors. Press this again, X, and you're good to go. So now every single thing that we do or that we make is going to be hosted on our folder. It's very, very good because when we exit this, we can keep opening different folders. So if I go here to Command-Shift-N, I can go here, I can this, and I can open a new folder, right? And so you can have different folders, different Claude instances to be able to actually use Claude in different ways, right? So each Claude project is a folder on your MacBook. All right, so now that we installed Claude Code, the first step is making the form on Typeform. All right, so I'm here on Typeform. You can just make an account and we can go here to create a form. We can start from scratch or use AI. The AI feature is pretty good, so you can use that, but multi-question page, make sure we choose this. And then here we can do full name. Actually, no, please fill out your details down below. There you go. Then we can do full name. We can duplicate. Let me delete this. And then this will be company name. Actually, company website. And then turn this into a URL down below. We can duplicate this. And then we can do LinkedIn URL. Duplicate this and then do phone number. Phone number. Although phone number should be at the top, so we can put it up here. And email as well. I believe there is email. There we go. Perfect. That's it. So we can do an ending page, end screen, saying thank you very much. One of our sales reps, one of our consultants, right, will be reaching out to you shortly. We can delete this, share. And I think now we're good to go. Let me update my Typeform. So a new lead inquiry. Again, so this right here can be a website inquiry. It can be a Facebook ads. It can be whatever, just as long as it's a way for someone to put their details. And our sales rep, someone who just calls, right, will call the lead with information on the lead and then be able to be much more prepared for the call itself, which increases the close rate because they have a lot of information pre-call. Now let me make this all required that they have no way of not filling this out. There we go, required, share, and now we're good to go. So now we can go to Claude Code and start prompting the agent. I believe so. So we made the form, let's press share, great. So if I go here, I can put the form. I can see that it's a very, very easy form. That's it. This is it. All right, cool. Now we have to make the Google Sheet. So sheets.new. And this can be full name. This can be phone, actually email. Phone number, company or website, LinkedIn, URL. All right, so now here, in terms of sales reps, right? When we research the company, they would want to know the niche or industry of the company based on the website, the primary service based on the website, the ICP fit score. So that's going to be 1 to 10 based on whether the person actually fits our ICP, and then ICP fit reason. So why did the score, go like that? And then we can do personalization, personalized icebreaker. Now, because I'm a bit weird with this, we can turn this into white and there we go. All right, awesome. So now that we have this here, this is going to be the place where the actual sales rep will look at the information before calling the lead, right? And we'll have here. All right, so we have the form and we have the Google Sheet. There's one thing that's missing, which is the fact that when he needs to scrape the LinkedIn URL and he needs to scrape the website, and by the way, scrape means that it has to go inside, take all the information and then use it. It has to use some sort of software to be able to do that. So the best software that I know up to date is a software called apify.com. So apify.com is like the Amazon for scrapers. I've made tons of videos of Apify and it always keeps updating. As you can see, we have a new MCP connectors that we can use. Think of them as products. So Amazon has products, Apify has scrapers. We have Instagram scraper, we have Facebook scraper, Google Maps, TikTok, website, which is the one we're going to use, and also LinkedIn as well. So make an account on Apify. And once you make an account, you will get $5 of free credits. All right, so we just logged in here. We can see that we have $5 of free credits. I already used 43 cents because I was testing before here. And we also have memory. Now, how does this work with pricing models? Each scraper will cost us something, right? And I'll show you what it will cost us for these scrapers that we're going to use. So we can go to website scraper and we can use this right here because Apify made it, so it's very reliable. And so the way that this works is that we basically have to give it a URL of a website and then it's going to scrape all the information, which is great. So on the top, we have the name, we have the unique kind of ID, so the unique kind of identificator of Cloud, actually using Apify. And then we have the description. So we have crawl websites and extract text content and to feed AI models, LLM applications, vector databases, or RAG pipelines. The actor supports rich formatting using Markdown, clean HTML, download files, integrates well with LangChain, Llama Index, and the wider LLM ecosystem. Now, that made pretty much no sense to me in terms of all these names, because I'm not using them, but we just need to give the website of the person, take all the information, give it to AI, and then AI makes the brief, right? So we can just copy this right here, because we're going to give AI that exact Apify scraper. And now that is for the website. That is the first thing. The second thing is going to be for the LinkedIn. So we can go to LinkedIn profile. There we go. We can look at the first one here. We can just open two of them. Let's see which one's the best, or three, or four actually, to see what the difference is. We have LinkedIn profile scraper plus email. Okay, the second one is LinkedIn profile search. No, I don't need this because we need to give it a URL of a LinkedIn profile. LinkedIn post. No, I don't need the post. LinkedIn profile search by name scraper. Nope, perfect. This right here is what we're going to use. This is good for us because we need a scraper, some sort of system that allows us to give it a URL. So of my LinkedIn, this right here is my LinkedIn, and basically scrapes this. It scrapes this and everything else as well, right? Like where I worked, where I went to school, and testimonials and all that stuff, right? Which is great. So that's what we're going to use to do that. As you can see here, profile details, no email, $4 per 1,000 results. So for 1,000 profiles, you spend $4 and you have $5 of free credits. So it's more than enough for most people. So you can copy this and paste it somewhere else. And now we can talk to Cloud Code. All right, so now that we're done with Apify and Typeform and Google Sheets, we set up all the foundations for the system because I knew what I wanted before. And typically that's always what I do. I always kind of make the assets and then I tell Claude or the system itself what I wanted to build, because I don't like to do things mid-build, right? That's it. So let's do it. Hey, Claude, you are an expert, agentic workflow expert, and you help people to make agentic workflows. Now, here's the agentic workflow that I want you to build. So we have a Typeform, which is a software that we use to make the form. And whenever the lead fills out the type form, I want you to take the LinkedIn URL, company website, and then feed it to Apify, which is a software that we use to scrape. And I'll tell you the two different scrapers that we want to use for website and LinkedIn. And I want you to extract all the information that we can from each one. Now, the form itself that the lead is going to fill out will include full name, email, phone number, website, LinkedIn URL. What I want you to extract in the LinkedIn profile and the website is the niche and industry that they're in, the primary service that they have, and also ICP fit score 1 to 10, an ICP fit reason, meaning why'd you just score them 1 out of 10 based on what we do, and how well they're able to work with us. So whether they are a good customer for us. And then we have a personalized icebreaker that our sales rep can then say to the lead, right? So again, this right here is a Sales Copilot agent, and this Sales Copilot agent then needs to send all the data to a Google Sheet that we have as well. So let me know if you have any questions first before making anything. Then we will make a plan. Then we will create the Claude.md file, and then we will build the agent. and then we will deploy it step by step, okay? First of all, any questions before we start, and we can go from there. All right, so you saw exactly how we can prompt, hey God, Jesus Christ, hey Claude. You can change different things because I'm using Whisperflow, and sometimes Whisperflow is not the most accurate, which is fine. So I basically give it the description of what I wanted to do. And then I told Claude Code to make a Claude.md file once we have things set up. Now, what is a Claude.md file? Well, I think this explains it really well. Tired of repeating yourself? Tell Claude to remember what you told it using Claude.md. It will be a file that is sort of like the main system message or kind of like context behind what we're building. So every single time that we run a new session, that we have a new conversation with Claude Code, it will use a Claude.md file. It will read that, get context, and then it will answer a question. So much better than just like, randomly answering questions. Now I'm gonna turn this from edit automatically to plan mode. These are the different permission modes of Claude Code. Effort is high. You can, max is a bit mad. I mean, the higher you get, the more tokens you use. I think high is fine. I'm gonna use plan mode just because I wanted to plan first. Bypass permissions is where you want Claude Code to just do things without, having to ask you any questions. Edit automatically is the default one, and then ask before edits is when it asks you a question every single time that it wants to edit or do something, right? In this case, plan mode is the first one we're gonna use to plan things, and then it's gonna start building different things, okay? So let's press run, and now it will start marinating, actualizing. And we can also see the amount of tokens that we're using, which is not the best when it's increasing like that. All right, so now it's gonna ask us different questions. So platform question, your offer, ICP question, API and keys, and Google Sheet. How do you want this agent to be built and run? This is the biggest architecture decisions and affects everything else. Do I want this to be an anytime workflow, Claude Agent SDK app, plain script, plus cron webhook? I'm gonna use this right here. So I wanted to use the APIs of Google Sheets, Claude, API, and Typeform directly with no platform, but I maintain it, right? We're gonna maintain it and deploy it as well. Super, super easy. It uses Python. I don't know how to code, but we have Claude Code that knows how to, so you'll be fine as well. Your offer on ICP. To score ICP fit, write the ICP reason and craft the icebreaker. The agent needs to know your business. Can you provide it? So we are a marketing agencies that helps coaches and consultants to be able to get more leads through content. And we help, it's a done for you service, and it's mainly for CEOs and founders who are posting actively and want to generate more leads using social media. If it needs more context, it's gonna ask me, so it's fine. I can press enter. Do you already have 2 API scrapers picked out, plus your API keys? I have them ready. So you can put, I have them ready, but I'm just gonna put other and just add them here. And I'm just gonna paste LinkedIn scraper name and website scraper name. And then also for the API key, we can go to Apify. We can go down to settings. We can go to API and integration, and we can copy this here. Now, if you're new to Apify, you can just press create a new token, and then you can just put create, and it will create one. And you can just copy, okay? Bring it back and put API key, paste it here, and press enter. What should the final Google Sheet look like, and where is it? Let me go here. I can copy this link. I can name this lead inquiry sales copilot sheet. There we go. Copy the link, and then I can paste it to others, sheet URL, and press submit answers. Now, with that said, as you can see, if you guys are never really used Claude Code, it's really, really powerful because everything in the backend is sort of like tapping into different APIs, reading your project, thinking for you, and using AI to the best of the ability to be able to summarize and think through what it is that it needs to do, the task, and basically making an action plan before it does anything, right? And so all we have to do, our real skill set here when using Claude Code is our ability to tell Claude what we want. All right, so now it's asking us how should the agent get triggered when a lead submits Typeform, and where will the script run? We can do a webhook. Again, a webhook is a URL in the server that basically activates whenever, let's say a Typeform submission comes in. So a lead fills out the form. It sends the information to our agent using a webhook, right? A lead fills out a Facebook ads form. It automatically sends the data to our agent using a webhook. So a webhook is something that we use to send data automatically. So I can use real-time webhook. Which Claude model should power the extraction, ICP scoring, and icebreaker writing? We can do Claude Sonnet 4.6 and press submit answers. So as you can see, I'm just directly talking to Claude. I'm not really making anything. which is awesome, especially when building. All right, perfect. So now we just made the plan. We can go here and see it. Sales Copilot build plan. Context: we are building an automated Sales Copilot agent for marketing agencies that runs done for you content service, helping coaches and consultants, mainly CEOs and founders. When a lead submits a type form, the agent must automatically capture the lead's details: name, email, phone number, website, LinkedIn URL, scrape the LinkedIn profile and company website using Apify, and use Claude Sonnet 4.6 to extract and derive the niche industry, primary service, ICP score, fit reason, and personalized icebreaker that the sales rep can then use, and append everything as a row in a Google Sheet. Then it basically tells us, a bunch more things that we don't really need to know now, but it's all around the like what files is it making. Like for example, the Google Sheet writer, right? Sheets.py, py stands for Python, and this is the file that is going to make here, and it's basically structuring, hey, here's X, Y, and Z that we have to make and kind of like structure. So it has a build phase, it has a step-by-step plan before it does anything. So I can say now, yes, auto accept. I can change this now to bypass permissions. So now it's gonna start tracking and start building. So as you can see now, it just made different phases for the product, which is very, very, very good because we can then see exactly at what step it's at. Phase 1, scaffold, creating project files. Phase 2 is writing the claude.md file. Phase 3 is doing this. Phase 4 is this. Phase 5 is this. And phase 6 is this, right? So it's gonna go through everything step by step for us to also see what it's doing when it's doing it. All right, perfect. So after a couple of minutes, it finished A through F. It made all the files on the left-hand side, as you can see. You don't necessarily have to know exactly what these are, but they're essentially different files that, are able to do different things. So Google Sheets is for Google Sheet. Apify is to scrape Apify. Analyze is to analyze the actual data that it gets, which is great. And the reason you don't have to know this is because you actually don't need to know what these files are. You can always just ask Claude and ask it, hey, what did this do? But it's not necessary. So, and then obviously we have the main claude.md file, right? This right here is the main, the main whole thing that goes through Sales Copilot. So you are this, who we are as a company, ICP fit scoring, scoring brands, and then we have ICP fit reason, and then personalized icebreaker, and then output contract, right? All right, now we gave it everything. I believe now it's asking us to rotate the API key. We don't have to do that, so it's fine. We have to add our Anthropic API key for it to use Claude to then analyze. Google service account, create one, download JSON next to project and share file. We have to make a Google service account, confirm type from fields. Okay, so first step is Anthropic API key. And we have to add it to our .env file, which is this, which contains all our API tokens, passwords, and all that jazz. So we have to get two, actually. We have to get the typeform and we have to get the Anthropic API key. So to get the Anthropic API key, you can go to platform.claude.com/dashboard. You can go to API keys. Make sure, first of all, that you are, I believe it's credits, that you have some money in here because credits do require money, but it's very, very little. So you can have like $10 and it can last you a month, depending on how much you use it. So create an API key. We can name this Sales Copilot. We can add, and then we can copy this. We can bring it back, paste it here in the .env, or you can simply just put it in the chat. Don't do that because if you put it in the chat, now it's basically out there. But if you put it directly into the file, then it's faster, and it's not faster, but it's more secure. So you can go here, you can paste the API key. Now we have to get the typeform webhook secret. So I don't know why we need that, but let's not do it for now because it says optional, right? If Claude really needs this, then it's going to ask us. So it's fine. Press Command S so it saves it. Now we have to make our Google service account. How do I make a Google service account? Open Console Cloud, pick a project, enable Google Sheets API, service accounts, download the JP. Okay, cool. All right, let's do it. So let me copy this here and paste it into the browser. All right, so you get here on this page, make sure you're logged in with your actual account that you're gonna use for the Google Sheet. You can make a new project, just name it Copilot. I personally cannot do that just because I have too many projects here and I've reached my limit. But let's say I'm gonna use the lead agent. Okay. After you want to go to API and services, which you can also find here, API and services. There we go. You want to look for Google Sheets because this way we're basically authorizing and saying, hey, Claude, you have access to my Google Sheets. So it's fine. Google Sheets API. There we go, right here. And you want to enable this. So there should be a button called enable. Once you press this to confirm, press yes, wait a couple seconds, and then you'll be able to see manage. Once you see manage, it means that you've enabled the API. Then it tells us to go to the service accounts. I am admin, service account, create service account. Okay, go here or here. I am an admin, service accounts. We can look for create a service account. And then we can name this Sales Copilot. Create and continue. Is there anything that we have to do specifically? Or sheet writer, sorry. Change this to sheet writer, the name. Let me remake this. Sheet writer, create and continue. Continue, done. Okay, where is it? Sheet writer, I can press on this. And once I press on this, we have to then go to key, add a new key, choose JSON and press create. And then we have to get the secret key, which is a JSON file. Okay, so if this is your first time doing it, don't worry. Just follow this step by step because it's kind of what we have to do. I don't really fully understand it, but I just know that I have to give access to Claude Code with my Google Sheet, and I'm just following instructions. I think it's good that I don't really understand it because most of you guys don't, which is perfect because then you can, kind of follow along and see that you don't really need to understand it to do it. Create a key for sheet writer. Again, go to keys, JSON, press create, and I believe now it will make the file. There we go. You have a JSON file here. This JSON file is going to be the one that we're going to use. I believe we have to paste it onto here, but it's fine. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add the file of JSON inside the folder that we just made. So I'm looking at my desktop and I'm going to put this all the way inside the file. And now it should be somewhere here. There we go. Carbon stone. And here we have the ID, key ID, authorization, all that stuff. Again, all I did is I dragged the file into the actual folder that I made this in. So you can look at Sales Copilot in your desktop or wherever you made the folder, just drag and drop it there and you'll see it here. And that's it. So I can say now, okay, so I added the Anthropic API key in the .env file. I made the Google service account. I added a JSON file called carbon stone 498420J3E7729B, whatever. You can look at that JSON file and then use whatever you need for the Google service account. And for the typeform fields, we're asking the full name, we're asking the email, we're asking the phone number, we're asking the LinkedIn URL, sorry, the website, and then the LinkedIn URL. And that's it. Okay, cool. And press go. Okay, cool. So now it's asking me to actually add this to the Google Sheet and put editor. I can go here to the Google Sheet. I can press share. I can paste this. And then you can press send. Bear in mind that now you're asking, where did I get this? I got it from Claude, but in the JSON file that we just made, if I go here, it's gonna be, I believe, this one here, client email. So everything here to here, you can copy this and then put editor on your Google Sheet, which means that now it's able to access and edit our Google Sheet file. It's done. Now it's gonna test it. So we'll see. All right, perfect. It says connected. There's already one row in the sheet. Let me check what it is. Then run the full pipeline end to end with a real profile. Okay. So if you guys remember when I mentioned something around API, right? Now API is the thing that allows a software to speak to another software. In this case, Claude Code, what it does behind Claude Code is that it's now tapping into the APIs of these softwares and doing things for us so we don't have to do it. I just say, hey, connect Google Sheet to Typeform, and then it just goes to Typeform, it goes to Google Sheet. Through the API, it connects both of them and we're good to go, right? And I'm just here kind of controlling and overseeing as if you would be the CEO of a company overseeing your employees, right? You wouldn't do the work, but you would look at them do the work and then you would tell them, hey, this is wrong, this is right, great job or whatever. All right, so now I just said it's working end to end. He just made the actual Bill Gates example, website, LinkedIn URL of Bill Gates, ICP score 3, Bill Gates is the founder and decision maker. He's one of the most active content creators on LinkedIn. Okay, perfect. It also made a personalized icebreaker. So your recent LinkedIn article laying out exactly what the Gates Foundation aims to accomplish over the next 20 years was unusually direct for philanthropic communication. Most organizations stay vague, so the concrete framing stood out. How closely are you personally involved in shaping the editorial voice behind Gates' notes? Yeah, definitely not. That's not gonna happen. A sales rep would never say that. So we have to change that. Before doing the last step, which is going live, can we change the personalized icebreaker? It's too formal. I wanted to make it more direct, no fluff, make it in a young tone, as if a young guy is saying it, So yeah, change the tone of voice from that. Okay, so now it's telling us to do the last step though. While it's taking care of this, we have to expose the server so Typeform can reach it. Terminal 1, start the server. Terminal 2, in Typeform your form, connect webhook, add. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm gonna ask it what it means to tell me everything step by step. All right, so now I just made the tone of voice different. You post daily on outbound and high ticket closing. Is that content actually driving inbound for you right now? Or is there a brand play where you work leads through other channels? That's very, very good. So Well, much better than before. All right, for the last step, go live and connect to Typeform. I don't want to do any of the terminal stuff, too complex. Just tell me exactly what I can do in Typeform to add. Yeah, what I can do there in that platform to keep it as easy as possible without me having to use the terminal. So sometimes Cloud Code does give you like the more complex solution to do things, which not the best, but you know, we kind of have to tell it, hey, relax and give us the easy solution so we can just do it. All right, so the agent needs to live online 24/7 so Typeform can reach it. How do you want to host it? Render, Railway, we can do Render. I've never used Render, so we can do that. I'll kind of have to figure it out. Submit. Okay, so Render, we have to use GitHub. So GitHub is a place sort of like Google Drive where we store all these different files. So it's Claude to GitHub, GitHub to Render, and then we use Modal as well. So many different softwares. Modal as well to actually deploy the thing and make it work. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna go to github.com. We're gonna make an account, and then you can press new repository. So basically a new Google Drive folder. Name this Sales Copilot. Press create repo, and then we have to use a link. Give Cloud Code the link. Here's the GitHub repo link, and we can just press run. So in the GitHub repo, it just pushed it here. So it has all the different files. Perfect. Now it's telling us that we have to go to render.com, make an account. So let's go to render.com. I've never used this software, so well, I have done actually once. So you can get started. We can go to Google, continue, and then I believe it says new top right blueprint, new blueprint, connect to GitHub, choose a repo. In this case, it's Sales Copilot. Connect blueprint name. Does it tell me what the name is? I'm gonna make a name here. Sales Copilot. And then we have to add these API keys. So I can go here, .env. I can copy this, paste it here. API token, paste it here. Google Sheets ID, paste it here. Typeform webhook secret, I don't have it, so it's fine. And I can press deploy blueprint. And now it's creating the web service. And we should have it up and running. All right, perfect. So it just created the web service after a few minutes. I can go back here. And what's the next step? Add your Google key as a secret file. The Google login cannot be in a normal box. In Render, open your Sales Copilot service, left menu. All right, so we can go back to the dashboard. We can look at the projects. We can press here. We can go down to environment, and then we'll see here. Perfect. Secret files. I now have to add the file here, I believe. Secret files, add secret file. Okay. Plus, then the file name, we can put this. And then the content, I'm going to paste whatever was in the JSON. So I can find it, I can go here, I can copy everything, and I can paste it here. And press done. And press save, rebuild, and deploy. Once we finish with this, get your live URL. At the top of the render service page, you'll see a URL that looks like this. Test it, open the URL with health on. Okay, perfect. Okay, so we have to wait for it to redeploy, I believe, because that is just how it works. So blueprint, Sales Copilot. How does a Sales Copilot XX on render.com? So I believe it's this one. Oh, there we go. Sales Copilot Xeno. So we're gonna wait because it's still deploying here. All right, so now we can copy this and we have to add a webhook URL in Typeform. So I can go to Typeform, I can go to connect, I can go to webhook here, add a webhook, and I can paste this. And then we have to add the /webhook/typeform, save webhook, turn this on, and then it's good to go. Click submit test. Okay, so we have to go in here, read deliveries, send test request, 200, perfect, great. I'll also just paste the URL in Cloud Code. And it's saying live and healthy, all good. And in just a few moments, we should be able to test the whole thing end to end. So when it comes to building agents and stuff, really the longest part is not so much the building, but it's more everything around it, which is the structuring, the prompts, you having to communicate what you want, you going back and forth, you giving it feedback, you deploying it. But the actual build is just a few prompts here and there, connecting it to different softwares, and it's pretty straightforward after that, right? Which is great. All right, perfect. So it says the Sales Copilot is fully live. So now we can test it end to end. So I'm gonna go here to type form. I'm gonna go and get my URL from the content, paste it here, and then I'm gonna get my LinkedIn URL, and I can use my thing as an example. LinkedIn URL, 20155512334. Company website. Let's just use acquisition.com website. See if that works. It's gonna be inaccurate, right? Because Alex Hermosi's business and what we do is like completely different. So Michele Torti, put my email here and press submit. Thank you very much. One of our consultants will be reaching out to you shortly. All right, perfect. So we can see here in the logs that it actually ran. It went through the whole process. And in Google Sheets, we can see that we have Michele, my email, phone number, website, acquisition.com, AI agency coaching, one-on-one coaching, 8 for ICP score. Michele is the founder and active coach consultant with running businesses at the AI Automation Circle and JM Solutions, an AI agency, consulting for agencies, making him the textbook ICP match. He's flagged as a LinkedIn creator with 33,000 followers and is clearly building a personal brand through consistent content, which is the single strongest signal we look for. He's a sole decision maker and has demonstrated revenue traction, 2.5 million in client results. Let's get it, guys. 20K trained, 10K members in community. The one flag he submitted, acquisition.com website instead of his own, which is almost certainly a form error, but means we have no website data to evaluate the business skill dependently. Very, very interesting. So it understood that this is Alex Hermosi's website. I don't know why I didn't think it would do that, but that's interesting. And we have the personalized icebreaker. You've got 33K followers and you're clearly posting hard about AI agency space. Is LinkedIn actually driving your one-on-one coaching clients right now? Or is it mostly coming from the school community? As a coach, like on the coaching side, it is pretty good. As in, it's a good question to ask. And this is a very, very interesting piece of information that the sales rep would know before, giving me a call and so on. If you go to Apify here, we can see that the website content crawler was running and it took 41 seconds and the previous one took 4 minutes and 28. And then we had the LinkedIn profile scraper, which also ran for 5 seconds and it scraped my profile, right? So we can see that everything ran successfully. Again, this is a bit different to show the result because it isn't an automation where you can see all the steps kind of running at the same time. It's more of everything in the backend. So we have render, which is hosting the actual, we call it webhook, again, the thing that triggers the automation. We have Type from here, which is gonna be the software that actually starts the automation. And then we have Cloud Code, which is a place where, we actually build the actual agent itself and then deploy it. And then whenever we have to change anything, we can go to the Cloud Code and then say, hey, change the XYZ thing about the system and then change it on GitHub. And then from GitHub, we change it on Render. So it's a whole process, a bit more nuanced than the other ones that we've done so far, but super, super good use case for any kind of sales team that is able to get information about their prospects before they make a call. All right, so you've now built 5 different agents on 4 different agentic platforms. And each one of those is something that a business would actually pay for. Now, you can now build things, but building is the easy part. The hard part is taking this information and this technical knowledge and turning it into a real business and essentially getting someone to pay you, which is exactly what the next segment is all about, which is segment 3, monetizing. The first thing we're gonna look at is picking one opportunity and one offer. All right, so the biggest mistake that people make getting into the AI space and wanting to build a business is that they focused on the wrong thing. So which means that they get into the AI space and they start learning the tools, watching videos on Cloud Code, N10, Hermes Agent, whatever it is. And from there, they start thinking, okay, what can I build with those tools? And then they say, okay, well, who can I build it for? And then what is the offer? And then what is the problem that I'm solving for the person? And the reason that's the wrong way to approach things is because business, all it is taking a customer from point A, which is where they are right now, missed leads, less calls, low conversions, all the way to point B, which is where they want to be. Fewer missed calls, higher conversions, more money. And so you, as an individual, as the operator, you need to get the customer from that point A to point B. And the car is the tools, the car is the vehicle. But the vehicle doesn't matter if you don't understand what point A, point B is. And so most beginners spend months, if not years, perfecting the actual vehicle when they should be perfecting and understanding the problem that they're solving. So with that said, let's dive into the different problems that all the 5 systems solve. Starting with website lead generation agent. So this solves the problem that website visitors leave without converting because there's nothing there to engage, qualify, and capture them in the moment. and each lead is potential revenue. The second system is the inbound receptionist. So businesses miss calls and the revenue attached to them because there's no one available to answer, qualify, and book every caller around the clock. The third system is speed to lead. Businesses lose ad leads because nobody calls them fast enough, so the lead goes cold before they're ever qualified or booked. The fourth system is executive assistant. So owners and operators drown in admin, whether it's email, scheduling, contacts, instead of spending time on the work that actually grows the business. And last system is Lead Research Sales Copilot. So sales reps waste hours manually researching prospects before calling instead of actually selling. And so with that said, those are the exact main problems that we're solving with each specific system that we built. Because you knowing how to build a system, that's the first step. And it's only gonna get easier to build. But you understanding the problem that it solves is the most important part, because then you can think of who has the problem and you can go and sell this. Now, my point here is that you have to pick one. So pick one specific system that we built and we're gonna build an offer around it. So for example, let's say that we choose a speed to lead. We're not gonna sell speed to lead, we're gonna sell the outcome that a speed to lead provides. So instead of saying I build speed to lead agents, we're gonna say I help you build speed to lead voice systems that qualify your ad leads in under 5 minutes and book them into your calendar without hiring extra staff or changing your ad setup. And the reason it works is because it's very outcome driven. Do I say AI in the offer? No, because businesses don't care about AI. They don't really know what AI even is. And so you speaking in words of AI makes them confused. And a confused buyer never buys. Hey guys, quick one here. If you're enjoying this video and you are someone who actually wants to take these skills and turn them into a real AI agency by working with me one-to-one, then check out the first link down below, which walks through a full video on how everything works. Now let's get back to the video. All right, so now that you've picked one specific system and you've built an offer around it, again, speaking outcomes, not tech, you now know what to sell. But the next question is, who are we selling this to? Because the same agent is not worth the same for each business. And so that is the market. So when it comes to talking about niche, it will make much more sense once we break down the pricing structure of these systems. So fundamentally, one of the biggest things that I see in the space is that people talk about pricing based on the hours that it takes you to build a thing. I'm very against that just because of the fact that you will get better the more you build, and it will take you less time the more you build. So should you get paid less because you're better at the thing? Of course not, right? And so we want to charge based on the value that we create for the customer, not the time that it takes you to build the thing. And this is the trap that I fell into very early on, because I remember pricing a system $500 because it took me 3 hours and I came up with a hourly rate out of nowhere, and end up making the business over $8,000. And so if I had just charged based on the value, I could have charged 2 to 3 times more than what I did. But it was because I was obsessed with how long does it take me to build the thing? Is it easy? Is it complex? That I just charged based on how long it took me to build the thing, not to how much money it made the business or saved the business. So with that said, do not make the same mistake that I did and charge based on the value that you create. So let's use an inbound receptionist as an example for this. An inbound receptionist solves the problem of missed calls after hours. To understand the value that we're providing for the business, we have to understand how much money we're making the business or saving the business. In this case, let's say the business tells us that they're missing 20 calls a week. So that will be 80 calls per month. And let's say that they also tell us that each customer for them is worth just around $2,000. And so you would do 80 times $2,000, which is around 160K. And so what you would do is you would charge anywhere from 10 to 20% of that, which is 16K to 32K. Now, I know that sounds extreme to you because maybe you've never sold anything that high ticket. At the same time though, when you break down the numbers in front of the business owner, it will make sense for them because they can see the extreme ROI that they get from your system, and the price, the investment is nothing compared to what they get. But if you had just priced based on how many hours it took you to build the thing, maybe you would have charged 2,000. And so instead we're charging 8x more because you're focusing on the right metric. So to conclude this, the more money we can make the business, the more money we can make. So when it comes to who we target, we have to understand which niches can I provide the most value to, can I make them the most money so that I can make the most money. And so a lot of beginners, when it comes to niche, they pick a niche randomly based on what they think works. And then they wonder why they can sell the same agent for $100 versus $2,000. And so here, we're not gonna pick a niche randomly. We're gonna pick the niches where a single lead, a single missed call is super expensive for the business. Because a missed call for a restaurant is only gonna be worth $50. But a missed call for a dental clinic, a med spa, a roofer, or even a solar company is hundreds, if not tens of thousands. And so we can just charge 5 to 10x more just by changing who we work with. And so the people that you would target will be med spas, dental clinics, home service, marketing agencies, because the value of one lead is high enough that solving the problem is worth real money for you. And this framework right here of pricing is the one that we teach to all of our students that work with me one-to-one, because it is by far the most effective and allows them to charge anywhere from 5, 10, even 20 and 30K as well, instead of charging like most people, which is $500, $1,000, or just 1.5. All right, so now that you understand who it is that we have to sell to and how to price, the next question is, how do I get my first few customers? Which is where we get to the next section, which is warm outreach and free pilots. Now, when it comes to pitching the service, a lot of people feel like an imposter because they have barely delivered the product in the first place. And so they tell themselves that they need a portfolio of businesses, testimonials, a ton of like experience and building. So they watch more videos and they never actually reach out to anyone. But realize this, everyone starts from zero. I started with 0 clients. And so to get case studies, you have to work with people to then get case studies and testimonials and experience and referrals, right? And so the first part is reaching out to people that you already know. So here's exactly step by step how to get your first client through warm outreach. The first step is going through your phone. Second step is go to contacts. Then look at the amount of contacts that you have. And then I want you to divide the actual list into 3 different categories. Business owners that you know, close group, friends and family, and other people. For the business owners, we're gonna call them. For the closed group, we're gonna call them. And for other people, we're gonna text them. And we're gonna tell them all the same exact thing. And by the way, let's say we're using the inbound receptionist as an example. Hey name, I started a business helping dental clinics, med spas, and home service businesses to stop losing customers from missed calls. I'm opening up 5 pilot spots while I finish refining my system, and would also like more testimonials to show it works across different scenarios. Do you happen to know anyone who might be interested? Totally cool of thought I'd ask, let me know. As you saw from that message, you're not pitching, you're asking a question. Now here's why this is so effective, because this right here is you. And around you is your first degree connections, people that you can contact directly. But you might think that you know only them, when really there's a bigger circle around the first degree connections, which is second degree connections, which is people that they know. And so what you're gonna do is you're gonna reach out to the first degree connections to ask them if they know anyone. And if they resonate with your message, they will say, yeah, you can help me. And if they don't resonate with your message, but they know someone, they can refer you to someone. And so it's a win-win. And by the way, we're not doing this completely for free, because we're doing this in exchange for a referral, testimonials, and experience. And so those are much more valuable than getting a 1 to 2K client early on. Now, once you've finished the actual warm outreach and you've gone through your whole list, you now have a few clients you're working with and the referrals as well. You now want to tap into cold outreach, which is reaching out to strangers who have no idea who you are. And that's looking at cold calling, cold emailing, LinkedIn DMs, or even networking events. The most important thing is that you choose one, you double down, and you go full in. All right, so now you know exactly how to get these conversations in. But now, how do you turn these conversations into paid clients and actually make money? Which is where we get to the next section, which is sales process, turning interest into a paid client. So a ton of beginners, including myself, by the way, which is why I'm telling you this directly, when they go on a sales call, they over-explain the tech, they say the price when the prospect goes silent, and they talk themselves out of the sale. And the reason that is because they have the idea of the call, the structure and the foundations of the call completely wrong. So to make it super simple, let's break down exactly how you should approach the call and what things you should say. So the initial call is called a discovery call. And this is a diagnosis if call, meaning that you diagnose their business, their problems, their data, and then say, okay, based on this, can I actually help? If you can't, you tell them you can't. If you can, then you close. And so this call right here is you working out what outcome they actually need, how much the problem is costing them, and whether you can fix it. Because the price, like we mentioned, is value-based pricing. The value is attached to money. Money is data. Data is numbers, and numbers is questions. So it really comes down to what questions you ask to get the right outcomes to then get the right price. And so here's the shape of the call at a high level. The first thing you want to do is you want to understand their situation, their business, their ICP, and the revenue. Then you want to find the real problem and what it costs them. This is asking questions like, how many calls do you get? How many missed calls? What's your current conversion? How much does a client usually pay when they go into your business? Then you show you can solve it, and then talk scope and money. All right, so now that you've closed the client, the next question is, how do you deliver the system for the client in a way that gets them results, gets you referrals, and helps you to retain the client longer? Because a ton of people think that closing the client is the last step, when really it's just the first step. because you want to make sure that the client has a good experience. You want to make sure that you can then retain them and upsell them, make more per customer, rather than having to find 10 new customers every single month. So the next section is delivery and retain. So as weird as it sounds, and I don't think you're going to hear this much on the internet, the client experience matters almost just as much, if not more, than the outcome and the result that they get. Meaning that, let's take 3 different scenarios. The client has a great experience, but they don't really get a good outcome. The client has a bad experience and they get a good outcome. The client has a bad experience and a bad outcome, and the client has a good experience and good outcome, right? That is a matrix that we use. Of course, a good outcome and good experience, that's green. Bad outcome and bad experience, that's red. But this is the part where things get interesting. You have a higher likelihood of working with a client long-term if they have a better experience. Meaning that, like, of course you want to make sure that you do the best job for the client, the outcome is the best, that is important. But what's just as important for the client is how they feel throughout the whole process. And so your onboarding delivery process needs to be optimized in a way that makes the client feel like they are taken care of. So really the experience determines whether they want to work with you long-term and whether they give you referrals. So the first step of the delivery process is what we call the onboarding call. The onboarding call is there to set expectations around time and availability and collect all the offers and access that you need to deliver. The next step is building. So you want to send weekly updates every single week. And the updates can be as easy as sending an email saying, "Hey John, hope everything is good. Quick update on XYZ project. We just finished milestone 1. Now we're starting on milestone 2. Looking forward to showing you how it works. Talk soon." That way the client stays informed and they don't have to ask you where the product is at. Then we have step 3, which is a testing period. So take 1 to 2 weeks to test things yourself, with your team, or with the client as well. If you're building a voice system, you always want to make sure that you get the client input so that they give you feedback and then you can improve the system. And then finally, we have the delivery call, which is where you show them how the system works. And this is the call where you're going to upsell them. And so if they had a good experience and you've done a good job, there's almost a guarantee that they're willing to work with you long-term, assuming that they have another problem. And so on that call, you want to upsell them, which means that you're offering a client a way to solve a different problem. So let's say that you're using an inbound receptionist as a gateway offer, then you can upsell them to a speed to lead or a sales copilot. And so once you finish the first project, is deployed, you would say, "Hey, by the way, I know that you have X, Y, and Z problem. We can also solve that too." And then you go into the details as to how you can solve it. And if you've done a good job, they already have trust, you have authority, right? You've proved yourself. And so now you have a much higher likelihood of closing the second client. Because I can tell you this, businesses just want the work done. They want the problem solved. And so they would much rather work with one person long-term than having to find new contractors and new agencies every single time. And this is the exact difference between a agency and freelancing. Freelancing is one-time products. Agencies is retainers and maximizing the amount that you make per client. All right, team. So that right there is the full AI agent masterclass, where I took you through exactly what an AI agent actually is. We built 5 systems on 4 different agentic platforms. And we also went through in detail as to how you can turn this information and these technical skills into an actual business and get paid for them. And so if you got anything out of this video, the best next step you can do is not watch another video, is to just start. Pick one of these agents and actually build it this week, because none of this matters if you don't know how to sell this. And by the way, I'm going to leave all the resources and templates in the 3rd link down below. You can go to my school community, you can go to the classroom section, and you'll find everything in the templates vault. And if you're someone who is working 9 to 5 and you want to take these skills and turn them into a real business by working with me one-to-one, then check out the 1st link down below, which walks through a full video on how it works. Check it out. If it sounds like a good fit, then feel free to apply. And now that you know exactly what to sell, how do you get your first free client, and how to close them, check out this video on the screen, where I show you step-by-step the roadmap that you can take to get your first AI paying client in 30 days. With that said, guys, I really hope you guys found value from this video. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.